Welcome to Amarillo, Texas for the 2024 edition of the IKF Grand Nationals. It's officially main event time, Duffy time, and we'll take you down your starting lineup in the mini Swift class. Tanner Barsh and Aston Wyatt starting on the front row. On row number 2, Angeli Anastasio and Simon Klein.
On your third row, it is Vargas and Mitchell. Then on the fourth row, it is Sadagova and Daniels. And rounding off your fifth row, that is Adrian Vargas on the third row, Nayeli Vargas on the fifth row, joined by Kason Sanders.
Well, there you have it, your mini Swift lineup. It's been all about Tanner Barsh so far this weekend, and Aston Wyatt starting from the outside again, looking to deny Barsh from what could be a clean sweep of the weekend in this mini Swift class. So we'll see what it's like, and we'll see how it plays out. We heard from Tanner Barsh earlier on today. We didn't hear from Aston, but it's definitely going to be a good one here, Rocco, as Tanner sets kind of a crawling pace here before this race gets going in this mini Swift class. Simon Klein as well, a factor that we haven't had all weekend long. He's had to race his way up the field, but there you have it, a big push there by Anastasio to kind of get this race going, and we do get the green flag that time by, and that's not going to help Aston Wyatt out at all. He got stuck on the outside, falls back to fourth. Simon Klein wasn't expecting that either. Aston Wyatt going to have to get on with it here early on the inside there. He's able to get clear, so Wyatt up a spot on Vargas, and Anastasio in second. And Tanner Barsh already has put a gap on the field, about 3 car lengths, and growing.
Yeah, monstrous push from Anastasio there to Tanner for that start. It's the same story every single time we have a start with Aston Wyatt. He falls to third, and then he has to fight his way around Anastasio to get clear road and work up to Tanner Barsh. We saw him in the warm-ups. He was fast, so hopefully we'll see if he can pull up to Barsh here.
Yeah, I mean, Aston had a lot of pace in the morning warm-ups. Just, again, it's, like you said, deja vu from yesterday in all 3 heat races. It's the exact same story. Simon Klein is trying to get his way through, looking to get a move. Moves to the bottom of the racetrack there on Vargas. On the inside for Klein. Klein's able to get clear that time by. And as I say that, Vargas around the outside holds on. He's able to get back. So a good move there by Vargas, and Klein just kind of struggling to get through as well. It's this track for the mini Swift guys has been quite hard to pass, but that draft brought Klein right back to the rear bumper of Vargas, and again, much deeper on the brakes for Vargas there. He's able to stay ahead from Simon Klein. Theo Mitchell getting brought right back into play, as well as Tori Daniels right behind in the 7th spot.
Yeah, Theo got caught up in a little incident yesterday in one of the heats, spun right around, so he definitely needs to work his way up to that front. I mean, he is, oh, there we go. We have Klein getting around Vargas into this hairpin right here, and he will hold on to that 4th place position. Now, Theo Mitchell, can he work on Vargas as well and try to get another position? Vargas takes a little bit of that curb and opens up the door for Theo Mitchell to get down on the inside. We'll see if he can make that position now, and I think he will do it. No, never mind. Closes the door on Mitchell. It's a good defense move right there from Vargas.
Yeah, and I think that camera angle has just been super deceiving on us all weekend long there, Rocco. Mitchell just wasn't close enough to kind of get that move done, and Klein, it seemed like third time was the charm for him indeed, so he got clear, but an update for the lead here. Aston Wyatt has gotten around of Angeli Anastasio here, so we'll look at that gap. It looks like to me that it's closing down, currently at half a second here, so Aston Wyatt has probably found some pace here. We knew he was fast in the morning warm-up session, so we'll find him here. And indeed, Aston Wyatt a lot closer than when he's been all weekend long to Tanner Barsh, and could get within striking range as this race continues to progress. So that gap currently at 4 car lengths. Barsh over his shoulder knows that Wyatt's quite close, so closer than probably he's been all weekend long. And this could probably start to add some pressure on Barsh, could probably force him into a mistake or some sort of kind of disconcentration for Barsh as this race progresses. But Rocco, this is probably the best shot that Wyatt has had all weekend long to kind of get there, and he's within drafting range, and this is exactly what Wyatt needs with a very, very long main event ahead. Almost 12 minutes left in this one.
Yeah, it's also key for Anastasio to stay in the draft of Wyatt right now, because if Wyatt can bring the fight up to Tanner Barsh, Anastasio can also have a shot with this run right now. And as you can see, he's rapidly getting up to the back of Barsh. Aston Wyatt is into this corner right for the long straight. He's going to have a huge run here with this draft. We may see a move coming into the final corner.
Yeah, there's Barsh again looking over his shoulder, checking on the gap to Aston Wyatt right behind the AR Academy driver. An all-out push here early on to kind of close down that gap, and you see how much the draft does there at the end of the straightaway to really close in on that. And now Barsh could fall under fire here in this next lap if he can't kind of keep Aston Wyatt at bay, and you see how much kind of smoother line that Wyatt has through that chicane, and closes down that little bit more. A car length separates the two drivers here in the lead.
Yeah, they're getting real close now. We'll see if he makes a move or decides to work with Tanner Barsh. Right now, in this stage of the race, they still have 11 minutes to go. It really wouldn't be in his best interest to start fighting right now because they have a huge gap to Anastasio, and I would want to work on that gap if I were Aston Wyatt, but we'll see what he does.
Yeah, now Wyatt, I mean, almost thought that starting on that outside line, it was going to be almost done and dusted for him, and didn't think he really had a shot coming into this main event, and it's not over till it's over because this race has just started, and he's definitely within a good shot to impress Tanner Barsh here this weekend. Kind of a class where he said, Barsh, in his own words, kind of pretty much told us that, he's usually, just does it to the two-cycle stuff to kind of have fun and does it to really, he's usually stressed out about the two-cycle class. Now he's kind of stressed out with the four-cycle, and he's been happy about it, but at this point, looking over his shoulder, he's going to know and definitely going to start to feel the pressure from behind from Aston Wyatt. So all to play for here still for these two drivers, and time again, I mean, we've seen Aston Wyatt kind of push his opponents further and further away from the driver in third place, further and further away from the rest of the field. So I'm expecting to see kind of Wyatt to push Barsh away from Anastasio at this point, to kind of push him, learn from him. And we talk about lead and follow all the time, and we sound like a broken record talking about it, but that's exactly what's kind of going to go on here in this race, if my prediction is correct here, Rocco.
Yeah, I mean, why would Aston go in the lead right now if he can just sit and wait? Because, I mean, he'll just be sitting in Barsh's head this whole rest of the 9 minutes plus 2 laps before he makes that move, and then Barsh may not have enough time to get back at Aston Wyatt and study and learn where his mistakes are and where his weaknesses are, because he's been dominant in this class this whole weekend throughout all the heats. No real contest for the most part, but as you can see now, he has a huge competition by Aston Wyatt now.
Yeah, definitely feeling the pressure here, but as we expect these two drivers to kind of push along, let's go and check in with the battles further back in the field with Vargas, Tori Daniels, and a couple of others that are kind of locked out in a duel here. Vargas and Sofia Sadagova here on our screens, kind of locked out in a duel here. Vargas kind of falling under pressure to Sadagova, and they continue to push along here kind of close. Sadagova was actually able to get ahead of Tori Daniels last time around, so Tori Daniels falls back a spot in her OTK EOS machine, and she's going to be kind of having to get a move on here to close down her gap to Sadagova and Vargas here on our screen. So these couple of drivers, Sadagova had a really good start to her weekend, qualified further up in the field, and again, starting on that outside line, definitely didn't benefit her at all yesterday. So it's been a learning experience nonetheless for Sadagova running this high up in the field this weekend, and she's done a good job of it so far. Adrian Vargas as well, looking for that breakthrough weekend, and Vargas has had a good day and good weekend nonetheless, and having a good race so far. And you see the difference in line here, and it's kind of doesn't seem to benefit one driver more than the other. If anything, I think Sadagova was able to close down the gap into that straightaway there, Rocco.
Yeah, now as you can see, she did it in the perfect point of the racetrack, because now she has this huge draft coming into the final corner. So we may see a move looking over the shoulder from Vargas. Is Sadagova going to go to the inside? She is, and she will potentially get that fifth place position from Vargas. Vargas, a little bit of an oversteer coming into the corner, and we'll see if Vargas has anything to answer. Pulls to the inside of Sadagova, really low to the inside, decides to fall back into turn one.
You asked if Vargas had anything to answer with, and it seemed like he definitely did. Looking to go back here on Sofia Sadagova. They're going to go side by side, and I shouldn't say up the hill because we're pretty much flat out here in Amarillo, but certainly looks that way from our camera angle, as they're definitely working their way through here. But yeah, for Vargas, it looked like he had an answer there. They're going to go side by side, but I think the difference in line definitely benefited Sofia Sadagova last time around, and she was really able to kind of close down the gap. And you see again, Vargas, a much narrow line through that hairpin. Sadagova kind of opens up for the corner and really hits the apexes there, kind of sets it up perfectly for the straightaway, and you see Vargas kind of washing out a little too wide in the third of the 4 apexes there, and kind of loses some time here. You see that gap opens back up to a car length, and that draft, it's kind of harder to take advantage of it whenever you lose the time on the exit of the corners there, as we see, Rocco.
Yeah, Vargas needs to be careful, because if he falls out this draft, he might be alone, and it might even fall back to the clutches of Daniels from behind. Klein up ahead has pulled away from this group. He was fighting with them earlier, but now it's just these two. Vargas, a good draft right there. Still pretty close. I mean, you may see another draft coming down out of turn 2, but as of right now, it seems like Sadagova is making the least amount of mistakes. Up in front, you still have your leaders working together. Not much happening there. This is our closest battle on track right now. So at the point, you have Sadagova pulling away from Vargas right now.
Yeah, and I was just about to say there's an update here on your leaders. Tanner Barsh and Aston Wyatt still very much kind of pushing and working together along, and this is exactly what we kind of expected coming into this race. We definitely didn't expect Aston Wyatt to have the pace that he's had so far. After hearing from him yesterday and last night at the end of the day, thought he was well without a shot coming into this one, but he's definitely well within one, and it's not over till it's over. So lesson to all drivers at home, keep your head down, push along, and it's not over till it's over because we still have a lot of racing action left. 5.5 minutes to go left in this one, the longest that these drivers have gone all weekend long. Pretty much the distance of one of their heat races coming up here, plus 2 laps, and this is all for the race of the Duffy to put themselves within the history books here. Last year, Tanner Barsh talked about it. He came oh so close to that Duffy, made a mistake in that 206 cadet class that pretty much put him out of contention here. Aston Wyatt, your driver who's in second as well, finished further back in the podium and wasn't able to get it done. So he is still pretty upset about that, the way last year ended for him. So Aston Wyatt, for these 2 drivers, looking to put themselves up there, looking to put themselves in those history books here this weekend, and at such a young age to put themselves up there within a shot and putting themselves and doing the work to kind of be there in the end has definitely been the most rewarding thing for these 2 drivers. But the sad part about it, Rocco, only one driver can win this year in 2024.
Yeah, and I mean, you never know with these races. You have 2 drivers out in front, and they're gone from P3, but anything can happen. If these 2 drivers were to potentially trip over each other, it could be anybody's game, even though Anastasio is so far behind. And since he's fallen out of that draft, he might even fall to the clutches of Simon Klein for that P3 position. We'll see by the end of this race. It's 4 minutes plus 2 laps to go. We're closing down on the final stages of this race. And as of right now, you have Aston Wyatt and Tanner Barsh still working in total unison, and nothing really happening up here. It's just a very smooth textbook strategy to pull away from the rest of the field and wait for the final 2 laps.
Yeah, and on the fence line last time around, you saw Tanner Barsh's team owner and kind of mentor in Massimo Sanchez-Laura, kind of telling him to keep it smooth, keep it nice and easy. And Aston Wyatt's dad there as well, kind of telling him to continue to push, continue to hit his marks, and to continue to be patient here. And Frangeli Anastasio, a driver who had to get a waiver to race here this weekend in Mini Swift, has definitely, done a good weekend and impressed a lot of drivers here this weekend. Impressed his teammate even in Aston Wyatt here this weekend. Andrew Anastasio, I believe, only around 7 to 8 years old, and racing in the Mini Swift class like he's done, having the extenders on the pedals to kind of get here and race this weekend, has definitely done a good job to get himself within a podium shot here to put himself in contention here this weekend. So Andrew Anastasio definitely coming into his own here in the Mini Swift class and has done a good job so far. As well for the driver in 4th here, Simon Klein, wasn't able to qualify earlier this weekend, Rocco, and for Simon Klein having to go back to Oklahoma here after having a family emergency and coming back here on the Saturday morning and having to race his way through the field all weekend long. He's done a good job, and we've talked about this kid so much this year. He's been across all national series and has definitely impressed us, being a top 5 driver, top 10 driver every single time he gets out onto the racetrack. And this kid is going to be one of the stars of the future. We look for a nickname for him, and we haven't yet found one that kind of suits the nice and daredevil driving that Simon Klein has done all weekend long, getting through and making moves whenever he's needed to, Rocco. And I know I just changed the nickname again here.
Yeah, you said Devil, man. We should just stick with Dust Devil at this point. I think it sounds pretty good. But, yeah, definitely. And one thing about Anastasio is that, he's in the Mini Swift class, as you said, signed a waiver to run this class because he's, 7 years old. That kid started in kid karts, and I used to see him run all the time at Speed Sports. It's really cool to see a kid develop like that and really come into his own, as you say. And, he's running with the top Swift class at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. And as we move further back in the field as well with our 5th place driver, and Sofia Sadagova, this young lady from Dallas, Texas as well, has had a good race nonetheless, putting herself in a top 5 at a national Mini Swift event here at the IKF Grand National. Sofia's done a good job and kind of provided some good battles for us all weekend long. As you see your leaders go by there on your screen, Sadagova has, had a good weekend. here in her driven performance kart, and she's done a good job to kind of keep it there, fighting with Vargas all weekend long. And there she is, the young lady from Dallas, Texas, driving around and doing a good job nonetheless here this weekend, putting herself in top 5 contention and showing her pace here this weekend. Not as big of a budget as maybe some of the other drivers in the field, but she's always happy to be at the racetrack, and she's always happy to kind of put that helmet on and do whatever she can to kind of get a top 5 result or a good result for her entire team. And I know her dad is out here probably with a smile on her face, seeing his daughter lap around in a top 5 position at a national mini Swift event as well. For Vargas, a breakout weekend for him as well, and Tori Dangerous Daniels, who kind of, aren't from around the area. Tori from the Midwest and making her way out here to kind of race at a Texas track this weekend has done a good job nonetheless, and everybody else lapping around. But with 40 seconds to go, your leaders are still locked and loaded here. 1 and 2, Tanner Barsh and Aston Wyatt, a car length in between these two drivers, and it's definitely getting closer and closer here. And as well, another battle getting closer and closer here. Your battle for third here, Angelie Anastasio and Simon Klein. Very, still a little gap in between them, but it's still not close enough. But we're going to follow your leaders all the way through as Tanner Barsh kind of pulls away here. Seems like Wyatt made some sort of mistake, and that gap opens up just that little bit more. It could also be that Tanner Barsh just pulling away here, so Wyatt can need to stay in the draft.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that gap behind with Anastasio and Klein isn't correct on the ticker as of right now. We'll see when it updates. It's been staying around 3 seconds for the past 5 laps or so, and it's been closing in, and now we're coming down to the 2 to go this time by. These two drivers, one of them to get the Duffy. We'll see who it is.
2 sticks in the air, and ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your shoes here. It's officially crunch time in Mini Swift. Tanner Barsh versus Aston Wyatt. The MSL CRG against the AR Academy Burrell Art Machine. Both of these drivers fighting to get into the history books here this weekend. Barsh has been dominant all weekend long in his Mini Swift class. Wyatt has looked to deny him, and this is the best shot that Wyatt's had all weekend long to really challenge Tanner Barsh with only lap and a half to go here in this race. It's anybody's game here, Rocco.
Yeah, and as we said at the beginning of this race, Aston Wyatt was going to sit there and study this whole time, and that's exactly what he's done. He has not shown a nose once on Tanner Barsh. So we'll see what happens. Barsh is very, I wouldn't say he has a helmet on, so you can't tell his emotions, but he's looking over his shoulders right now. He is very occupied with 2 things: driving, holding this lead, and Aston Wyatt behind him. He needs to hold that driver behind for this win. But if he gets past, he'll have to study and figure out how to get around this driver.
A lot of drivers have said they don't like being in the lead in the last lap, and Aston Wyatt going to go for it here. Tanner Barsh, the first time this weekend, the lead has changed. Aston Wyatt to the point of the field. You see everybody kind of get on their feet here. Massimo Sanchez-Lara on the fence telling his driver to use his head, to be confident, and to be patient, to follow Aston Wyatt all the way through. It was almost a cat and mouse game all race long, and now it's changed over. Kind of the cat now being Tanner Barsh and the mouse for Aston Wyatt. Anybody's game going to the last half of the lap.
Yeah, he's a few kart lengths on him, but it won't matter once they get to that back straight, because Tanner Barsh will have a huge run if he can just keep this gap that he has right now. He's still very close to the back of Aston Wyatt. Half a lap left to go to see who's the winner of this class at IKF.
And you see team owner there, Massimo Sanchez-Lara, on the fence line looking on as his driver looks to fight his way into the history books. Aston Wyatt to the bottom of the racetrack. Tanner Barsh to the top, looking to set up an over-under move as we get close to the back straightaway here. Tanner Barsh looking to get it done around the outside. Through the grass, Tanner Barsh. That's not going to be able to stick there. Everybody on the fence line going crazy here as Aston Wyatt and Tanner Barsh going side by side all the way to the final 2 corners. Wyatt on the inside, Barsh on the outside, looking to set up an over-under move in any way that he can. Side by side all the way through. It's not over till it's over. Tanner Barsh around the outside.
Wow.
Wins the Duffy in Amarillo.
What a move by Tanner Barsh around the outside of that final corner to take the win in Mini Swift. Aston Wyatt a close second. It was a fantastic race. I think Simon Klein got around Anastasio for that 3rd place position at the very end.
What a race did we just witness, and it doesn't matter which way it went. These 2 drivers, Tanner Barsh and Aston Wyatt, their families and their team owners should definitely take a bow here this weekend, because they just provided some of the best racing action that we've seen all weekend long, maybe all year long, Rocco. And what a way to start off the weekend. The first race of the IKF Grand National is done and dusted, and provisionally goes to Tanner Barsh, writing his name into the history books. Aston Wyatt 2nd, Simon Klein 3rd. and Julie Anastasio in fourth. A good drive for the 7-year-old, and Sofia Sadagova rounds up your top 5.
In sixth place, it is Adrian Vargas. 7th place is Sanders. 8th place, Nayeli Vargas. And 9th, it is Daniels. And rounding off your 10th place, it is Theo Mitchell.
Well, what a way to kick off the 2024 edition of the IKF Grand Nationals. You're watching Kart Chasers live coverage, live from Amarillo. When we come back, more racing action set to come our way.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Car Class has done the hard work for you. We've traveled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Car Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack. Pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate. And 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States. And Australia, you're up next. So visit carclass.com to get your track information.
USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com.
Welcome back to your coverage of the 2024 IKF Grand Nationals. Your starting lineup here for your Honda Kit Karts. Dusty Strayer and Franco Morales on the front row.
Shiflett and Dean on your second row. Then on the third row, it is Calvo and Tudor. On the fourth row, it'll be Lee and Lofton. And on the fifth row, it'll be Petra and Brown.
So Brody Brown having to work his way from the tail end of the field up to the front of the field here for the factory kart comp kart driver, I should say, here this weekend. So some work to do for the number 17 machine, and on a weekend where it's been all about kind of Dusty Strayer here, they've still provided some great racing action nonetheless here, Rocco, and these drivers have been good enough this weekend to start their own races, and we'll see what it looks like this time in the main event. It looks pretty good so far, and I think we're going to be good to go. We are green and racing in Honda Kit Kart already. Moving out of line, Shiflett looking to the bottom of the racetrack on Dusty Strayer. Shiflett on the inside. He's able to get clear contact with Shiflett and Morales. They go side by side on the left-hander. Shiflett going to go to the point in a CRG machine.
What a three-wide pass for the lead there. Now Morales pulling slightly ever ahead. It's a really tight pack now going into turn one. This is going to be tight here, and they all get through cleanly. No big curb hops there from any of the drivers. Morales comes out with that lead. Shiflett loses one position to, I believe, that is Brown. No, that is Dean in the comp cart, putting pressure on your leader. Now he's really close, right on the bumper. It's almost as if these kit carts have changed completely, and I mean, I've never seen this tight of racing. Every time we come to a new TSRS or IKF race with kid karts, it seems that they just get better and better, Caleb.
Yeah, it seems like a 206 pack race here as all these drivers kind of shuffle for position. Morales, your leader here. In second place is the 48 of Dean. Then you go back to Shiflett, who was in the lead here for a total of one corner, and the rest of these drivers are further back in the field looking to kind of still make some moves and make some passes here, and they're providing us with some really good racing action here, Rocco. And there you have it. To the middle of the racetrack, there goes Morales. Peeking down to the bottom is Dean. Dean has a really good run. Can Morales close the door? He cannot. So there goes Dean to the point and to the lead here in his comp kart. And as I say that, side by side, Morales is going to go back.
Oh, yeah, a lot of changes for the lead here. It's very exciting to watch. You have Shiflett working on the inside of Dean. They may go 3 wide again like they did in turn 1 on the opening lap. Has a nose down on the inside of Dean, decides to file back through. They're all going to be single file. And now Dusty Strayer comes into the scene in 4th place. They're all going to be single file for this next lap coming by. They still have 13 minutes to go, but they're racing like it's the last lap every lap. It's really interesting to see here.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look on the fence line here, all the parents with flags, whatever sort of sticks to kind of tell their kids to go, 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 get their foot on the gas and kind of push forward here as Dean peaks at the bottom of the racetrack. Morales still on top. Dean looking to get the move done here. I don't think he's going to be close enough. And he proved me wrong as he does. And Morales goes around. Nobody else gets collected, but unfortunate here for Morales from the lead of the race. Goes around, and it's still a very long one, Rocco. I've seen a gap like this been closed down before, so don't count Morales out of it just yet.
Yeah, definitely. Morales is one of the quickest drivers on the field right now. That was an incredible sin by Dean. It just seemed that once they got through the corner, Morales went around there. But now you have Dean with a commanding lead over the rest of the field. You have Strayer in 2nd, Shiflett in 3rd. Strayer must have gotten around Shiflett when we were focused on that battle for P1. Now there's Strayer on your screen. And I think Brown's about to get passed by Levy or Calvo for that 6th place position. Let me see. There is Brown getting around Calvo. No, Calvo's still behind Brown. So they were fighting a moment ago. Brown held on to that 6th place position, and they are probably going to fight again into this next corner.
Yeah, but you remember Brown had to work his way through the field, so expect Brown, just like Morales, to kind of get himself up there and have to work his way through the field. So Brown up to the 5th spot here. After that unfortunate crash by Morales, there you have the timing screen start to populate here a little bit. Morales kind of dropping down the order. We'll see exactly where he crosses the line. It looks like it's going to be right about 7th. So Caden Tudor as well going through. So I think Morales is in 8th here. So a lot of work to do here for Morales to kind of get on the horse and get on with it here to really close down his gap. 11 minutes, still a long time. And Rocco, whenever you kind of joke around and see some movies from back in the day, and you see a lot of kids kind of playing baseball. A lot of kids, maybe if you're stuck in the outfield, you start picking dandelions and whatnot. And for all these drivers with 10 minutes to go, it's going to be all about concentration. Going to be all about hitting your marks. Going to be all about, being on the gas whenever you need to. Getting on the brake if you need to at all here in a Honda Kid Kart. But keeping the concentration is going to be the most important part for these drivers. And, at such a young age, they've done such a good job. But for Dean, being out in the lead, needs to be consistent, need to hit his marks. And for Strayer and for Shiflett as well, need to be on it, need to hit their marks as well and not fight too much if they don't want to lose too much time or kind of force themselves into a mistake or into a battle that is going to lose them a lot of time compared to Dean, But at 4 to 6 years old, I don't even know if I'd be thinking about all these things at once, Rocco.
Yeah, whenever I was racing, I always thought about what I was going to eat after the race. So I bet a few of these drivers have that same mindset. As you see Shiflett now putting a nose down on the inside, going to get around Strayer for that P2 position into the final corner. You have Dean pulling quite a big gap on these two right here, so they need to figure out their differences and work together. Otherwise, that driver will pull away. And as I say that, Strayer down to the inside of Shiflett, I think he's going to potentially back out, and he does. He was just very low on the line, and he wouldn't have had a good exit or even a line going into that corner on Shiflett.
Yeah, just wasn't close enough there for for Strayer to kind of get through on Shiflett. So Strayer now going to have to hop back on the horse and try to chase down Shiflett here once again. And again, Rocco, I mean, yesterday we saw the kind of difference in lap times. A lot of drivers start in the 135 range and then move down to the 132 range out of nowhere. Morales was one of those drivers after Strayer was in the lead for almost the entire race, and then Morales kind of got up there by setting almost lap times that were 3 seconds quicker than anybody else. And at this rate, if Morales can kind of do the same thing he did yesterday and set in the same lap times he did, then he could probably be there in the end. But you got to get on with it, put your head down. And I've been in a situation before where I've been in a shot within a podium and whatnot, and I found myself in the grass, found myself off the racetrack, and you find yourself defeated with your helmet in your hands. And the best thing to do is put your foot back on that gas and get driving. Put your head down and kind of get through it. And you've been in the situation before as well. You found yourself facing the wrong way at a TSRS event a couple of times before, or I should say one time before, and facing the wrong way with drivers coming at your way at Mach 3000, kind of avoiding you left and right. And you've had to work your way up the field in a main event and kind of gotten up there towards the end of it. So a lesson for all these drivers, and a driver like Aston White, who thought his weekend was pretty much over, wasn't going to be able to challenge Tanner Barsh. He was there in the end, and it's all to play for here for all these drivers, and for a driver like Morales who can really put his head down, push, and hit his marks and be alone here for a couple of laps. He can probably be there as this race continues to progress. But we look back on the racetrack and the battle here for the lead. Strayer kind of trailing Shiflett by a car length.
Yeah, this is potentially going to fall back from the lead, because last time by, Dean put another about 0.7 seconds on these two right here. It went from a 2-second gap to a 3-second gap to now a 4-second gap. So you can see Dean pulling away almost a second every single lap. And at the same time, Morales went from a 16-second gap all the way to a 19-second gap within a matter of a few laps. So he may not be in the right groove right now, but he's running out of time if he's going to catch up, and it's even more of a tall demand now that there's only 7 minutes left to go of the race, plus 2 laps. As you see Dusty Strayer trying to get that inside line. I don't think he has it just yet. He's a little far back on Shiflett. He's going to try and send it and just holds that tight line, and it's going to compromise his exit out of this corner. Now you have Lee on the back of Strayer after that bad exit. He may try and make the move here. He pulls out to the inside of the final corner as you have contact between Calvo and Brown. And Brown's stranded on the track. He needs to get going again before he loses even more position.
I think Brown is done here. Some sort of mechanical issue has probably put him out of this race. And, man, unfortunate for Brody Brown here, who every time he comes to the Texas Sprint Racing Series always has a lot of pace, and he's able to get back going, but a lot of track space to kind of be made up here for Brody Brown, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate accident that happened right there, and as you can see, the gap now has stayed the exact same in 2 laps. It's still a 4-second gap. Maybe Shiflett can close that gap down if he gets in the groove, but Dean seems to be in a headspace of his own right now. He's simply just by himself, all comfortable, taking his line, not worried about making any mistakes. As long as he keeps it clean, he could win this race.
Yeah, and I mean, not to mention, it's early on in the morning, but it also definitely gets pretty hot here in Amarillo. And for all these drivers who did 3 heat races yesterday and went through the heat and sat in that cart for who knows how many minutes, it's a big testament to how energetic and how fit these kids are. I think myself and Riley Cannon were talking earlier this morning that, a lot of these kids, they go back to the tent and have a pixie stick and they're getting ready to go for the next race. And I wonder how many pixie sticks you'd give a kid at kind of 9 a.m. to get him going here in this 15 minutes plus 2 lap main event. So that's also something to kind of take into account here, Rocco. And it's, these are the stars that we're going to see tomorrow. These are the drivers we're going to hear from tomorrow. We saw Tanner Barsh and Aston Wyatt. Those kids started in kid kart at some point, and these are going to be the kids who are going to deliver us some great racing action in 2 or maybe even 3 years' time, or maybe even next year. Some of them going to move up into the Microsoft class.
Exactly. And as of right now, you can see Shiflett, Strayer, and Lee all starting to bunch back up. We could maybe, I don't know if they'll be able to catch up to the lead. We still have quite a bit of this race left to go. As you can see, the gap has opened a little bit, about 0.3 of a second. I forgot what tenths are. There for a second, but yeah, so we might not see a big battle for the win, but we could see a huge battle for your second and third place podiums here between these 3 drivers. They're all evenly spread out right now, except Strayer seems to be putting a little bit of ground on Lee here and gaining on the back of Shiflett, so he seems to be back in the groove to get that P2 position. You can see up ahead, I believe that is Dean up ahead in that comp cart. Still a commanding lead from him, but now you can see Strayer definitely putting the pressure on Shiflett.
Yeah, so already getting pressure from behind is Shiflett. So Strayer kind of looking to get a move on here. That gap to Shiflett from behind, 4.288. So kind of not closing down here, but there goes Strayer up to the bottom of the racetrack, looking to get the move done. Can he get clear this time by? Into the left-hander he does. So Strayer up to second. And this is the battle for your podium here. Shiflett looking to go back, set up the over-under, a little bit of contact in between those 2 drivers, and they're able to keep it on the racetrack. So back on is Shiflett, and just like they were the lap before here, Rocco, they switched right back. So these drivers going back, and there goes Strayer to the bottom of the racetrack, looking to get clear on Shiflett. A good run and a good drive. Put Strayer back up to second. Shiflett once again looking to set up the over-under. Can't get it done just yet.
Yeah, these drivers, it's so awesome to see racecraft at such a young age. These drivers ranging from about 5 to 7 years old. Whenever they were going into that corner right before the back straight, you saw Strayer go down the inside. Shiflett noticed that and swung out wide to get a better run and got the switchback. Tried it again in the last corner, couldn't get there, But now that they're battling, they invited Lee back up into the point. 2 CRG drivers versus 1 Tony. We'll see if they work together. I mean, it's a bit of a ask to see if we have any bum drafting in Kid Kart. We've seen it in the past, but right now they seem much more interested in just racing each other. Strayer with a good exit there pulls a little bit on Shiflett and Lee. If they want to catch back up to Strayer, they definitely shouldn't fight right now.
Yeah, definitely don't want to waste too much time here. So Lee and Shiflett looking to kind of set their differences aside and work together here just that little bit to kind of close down their gap to Strayer here, who was able to get that move done back on Shiflett. You know, arguably Shiflett looked like he had a little bit more pace than Strayer, but just hasn't been able to kind of get the move done again on Strayer, and Strayer looks to pull away here, Rocco, like you mentioned. So it's been something to look out for here, and this battle continuing to rage on as we're getting into the closing stages of this race. 2 minutes and a half to go, so just about, if my calculations are correct, about 4 laps to go left in this race, Rocco.
Yeah, and one thing you can see, Morales made up every position he could until you see these 3 drivers. He's now in the 5th place position, about 22 seconds behind our leader, because Dean is flying right now 5 seconds from him going on to P2. So Dean seems to be pulling away from everybody now, fully alone, just doing his own laps, running cleanly. And these 3 right here, all waiting for those 2.6 to go, or not, because you see Strayer is defending down on the inside. As I said yesterday, Strayer is one of the most impressive defensive drivers at such a young age. He seems to really know how to throw down, especially in the in the last few laps, covering off corners, driving tighter lines just to prevent them from getting that inside, as you see it happening again, just preventing Shiflett from getting down on the inside of his kart. He's been able to hold on to that P2 position for quite a while now after getting switched back on Shiflett, but then he got it back in the final corner a few laps ago. Yeah, there you have it. And, you know, us, myself and yourself, probably, Rocco, I think you've made more Kid Kart memes than anybody else in the world, but we've definitely come to love this class for sure. And I remember kind of, it was either last year or 2 years ago whenever I, first worked for the Car Chaser crew and worked at KCFN, and my first kind of Honda Kid Kart class. I was kind of so happy about it. That was the year that kind of Brody Stoffel and Kimo Ahmad and Andrew Anastasio, Dutch Westbrook, all those drivers that are all, national drivers now. Kimo Ahmad, he has a podium in Rotax. Dutch Westbrook had a podium at the United States Pro Kart Series a couple of weeks ago. Andrew Anastasio just did what he does this weekend, was close to a podium, finished 4th here today in the main event. And as well for, I'm missing somebody, Brody Stoffel as well. He's had a lot of pace, everywhere that he's gone, and he's on vacation now in Hawaii. But, every time that he comes out to a racetrack, he definitely is always up there, one of the contenders in that national events, a top 10 driver, top 5 driver also. So, it's definitely cool to see all those kids, and these are the next up. These are the guys who are next up, and that's kind of what started the, if you want to call it, Kid Kart lore for us. That started the Kid Kart lore for us about a year to 2 years ago, and now you get back and you see this class have 10 drivers out for a race here in Amarillo, Texas. People coming from all over the place, from California, from Texas, from whatever parts of Texas. And it's kind of crazy that you got to drive sometimes 8 hours to be here. I drove 8 hours to get here to this event in Amarillo, Texas, from Houston, Texas. You also flew. So, it's been cool to see, and cool to see all these kids travel to get into that groove of what it's kind of like to be at a national karting event here this weekend at the IKF Grand Nationals. And one awesome thing about Kid Kart specifically at this track, as we have Shiflett getting pushed by his teammate to go down the inside of Strayer. They may make 2 positions here. We'll see. They both make it around Strayer for the second and third place positions, demoting Strayer all the way down to 4th. Trying to get down to the outside of the final turn goes Strayer. He may get completely clear from Lee by the time he gets there. He does. So Shiflett, Strayer, and Lee, that is your 2, 3, and 4th drivers. But last year when we were here, in this angle right here, there was a wall that you had Ali plow completely last year, and we were very worried about it, but he came back to get a podium finish by the end of the weekend. So you have a lot of crazy lore that comes.
Kids are animals, dude.
With Kid Kart and Amarillo. So it never disappoints. We have a fantastic race still. Been able to run my mouth the whole time, seeing them throw overtakes and all that. So yeah. It's really awesome to see how this Kid Kart class evolves throughout the years.
Yeah, no, sure. And we definitely sound like a broken record saying it now, but it's true. You got to give credit where credit is due, and these kids have definitely earned it. And when you talk about credit, you talk about the kid in the lead here at the moment, Mr. Dean and the Comp Cart Machine. That actually rhymed. That was pretty good there. Mr. Dean and the Comp Cart Machine there running away with it here in Kid Kart. And everything else further back has kind of stayed settled. Your drivers were second on back, still fighting it out. Shiflett, Strayer, and Lee still very much here on your screen. Next time around, they're going to get the white flag. To the bottom of the racetrack, there went Strayer. Wasn't close enough to get it done in his Tony Kart. So the CRG still leads that group and that sandwich here at the moment that Strayer currently sits in. So I'm pretty sure team owner here and Ewan Jeffrey's going to be happy to see kind of two of his Honda Kid Kart machines kind of push each other forward. And not going to be happy about this. Is Strayer going around the outside looking to get the move done. He's able to get clear before the corner. So Strayer goes to second here. And you move back to Shiflett in third and Lee in fourth. And it should be the white flag this time by. And I think it is white flag in the air this time around for these Honda Kid Kart drivers. And with that being said, let's give some screen time to our leader here, Mr. Dean. He's definitely done everything possible, has gotten to the lead. It wasn't easy. That race start was almost 4 wide at the start of it, but this kid here in the Comp Kart, you see how locked in he is, goes and looks at every single corner, locks in kind of like it's almost a targeting missile. You see him kind of vibing out through the straightaway, nodding his head, knowing that he is absolutely on rails. This kid is absolutely flying here, Rocco.
Yeah, even though the group behind has been battling throughout this entire race, he's put a 6.5 second gap on them, and his posture is pretty awesome. I mean, he's leaning down on that wheel right now. He's really, giving it the beans, giving it everything, flying away, and he's driving off into the sunset right now, potentially going to grab the Duffy. Just a few more corners to go if he can keep it clean, which I think he will. He's been very consistent all race, and now further back, they're all 3 wide fighting for that position. As you can see, just a little peek before Dean comes to the line, barreling into that final corner, but now your leader, Dean, comes to the final few corners.
Michael Dean has been picture perfect all race long. This young man can definitely have a smile on his face, and I'll tell you what, give this kid whatever candy he wants on the ride home. Michael Dean can take a bow. He wins the 2024 IKF Grand Nationals.
That's awesome.
In second, Dusty Strayer, Shiflett all fighting it out. Lee looking across the line. Who is it going to be? For second, it's Shiflett who crosses the line. Lee crosses the line to round up your podium. And Dusty Strayer rounds up your top 4.
And Morales, you can see him on the corner of your screen. A good recovery drive to get to 5th place. It's a shame what happened because he could have fought for that win. Him and Dean. Dean had an incredible overtake to the inside coming in, I think, either turn 4 or 5. And Morales went around, but a very good recovery drive for Morales indeed. I think your 6th place driver coming back will be Calvo, then Tudor, Brown, Lofton, and Petra in 10th place.
With that being said, we've had a very interesting race, and you see there Michael Dean absolutely elated, and all the people on the fence line absolutely elated for this young man to get it done. How about that for Michael Dean in the Comp Kart Machine? Gets it done in the 2024 IKF Grand Nationals in Honda Kid Karts. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, your 206 Masters coming up next as Todd Barron looks to break the streak in the longest time in between national championships. You're watching Kart Chaser's live coverage of the 2024 IKF Grand Nationals. Don't go anywhere.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Welcome back to Amarillo, Texas. Let's take you through your starting lineup in 206 Masters. Todd Barron looking to break the streak for the longest time in between national championships. 45 years in the making here. Could break a world record today. Marshall Steves looking to deny him from the front row.
Yeah, on your second row, that is Pignataro and Jensen. On the third row, it's Uchinsky and Pinales, then and Ian Tudor.
The Maverick Miller going to have to work his way through the field starting from the tail end, as well as Ian Tudor, who has been looking for some pace all weekend long. But for Todd Barron, it's been all kind of smiles to this point and looking to kind of get it done for Phil Pignataro, looking to kind of deny Todd Barron from completing, I shouldn't say the impossible because it's definitely possible here today for Todd Barron in the Mach 1 machine, and 45 years in the making. His last Duffy in 1979 went back-to-back that year. This year looks to get it done here in 2024 and break that world record that he's kind of chased for oh so long and had to wait for 45 years. So today could be the day that Todd Barron breaks that streak and goes back-to-back here at the IKF Grand Nationals. A lot of drivers looking hungry, a lot of drivers looking good to deny him. Chuck Jensen's had a pace, Steves has had a pace. Phil Pignataro's nonetheless has led a lot of laps, and you can't fail to mention track owner Kyle Uchinsky started from the third row, who knows this track probably better than anybody else. Doesn't drive here as much as people think, but he knows almost every single inch of this racetrack here this weekend. Omar Pinales as well, in his first start here this weekend at the IKF Grand Nationals. His first start on, Kart Chaser Live TV here has definitely had some pace to have a top 5 finish or even a podium finish this weekend. So a lot of drivers in contention, a lot of drivers looking to work their way through, but Todd Barron on the gas. We go into the start box. Green flag is out, and we are racing here in 206 Masters. Uchinsky moves to the bottom of the racetrack, looks to go through on Pignataro. Wasn't close enough at turn number 1.
Yeah, a slow start from that outside line. You have Uchinsky go all the way from 5th into 3rd. You see that it's a recurring theme. That outside line always just kind of gets stuffed because it is basically a hairpin into turn 1. So you see a lot of inside just shuffle through as you see Kyle Uchinsky make that position, and Pignataro already in P2 right behind Barron. These two are the favorites for the win. Either of these two drivers, including some behind, if these drivers don't work together, which I believe they will. They have 15 minutes, so they most likely will pull away. Chuck Jensen's a very quick driver. He's found Kyle Uchinsky on the track. He'll most likely, he actually doesn't. He goes to the inside of Uchinsky, gets that 3rd place position. They need to work together if they're going to catch up to 1 and 2, though.
Yeah, they go side by side here, and this is not going to help out this group at all. Chuck Jensen, Marshall Steves goes through on Uchinsky, and he's going to fall back to 5th. So already kind of put on the back foot here, unfortunately, for Uchinsky, and going to have a lot of work to do to catch up to Phil Pignataro and Todd Barron, probably two of the most decorated 206 Masters drivers in the nation, probably the two best 206 Masters drivers in the nation as well. So they're doing a good job nonetheless here to kind of keep it out in front. Uchinsky looking to kind of deny that. He had the best start that he had all weekend long, but Jensen and Steves were able to make quick work of it. Pignataro drops the tire. You see that shake of the head. Not happy with it at all. And you see kind of everybody and all the mechanics that are on the fence line, especially the TV mechanics, the biggest team and the biggest crew out here this weekend being their home track and where they're based out of. everybody kind of giving that support to Kyle Uchinski, give him whatever bit of advice that they can to kind of push, be smooth on the wheel, hit his marks, and get there when it matters.
Yeah, in that final corner, you had Pignataro messed up his run, and now he's being caught by Jensen, who's going to try and slide down to the inside of the track and get that P2 position. Now Chuck Jensen down the inside. Pignataro tries to get the switchback. If they keep fighting, they're going to let Todd Barron run away for now. Steves trying to file through and get to the inside of Pignataro. He may lose 2 positions here, a little bit closer. You saw the hands react to Jensen getting down the inside. It's not a good start for Pignataro right now. He goes down the inside of Marshall Steves to get 3rd place back. They need to stop fighting and work together. If they're going to lose this lead, they may be stuck fighting for P3.
And we say this so many times here. Steve's going on the outside. They're looking to go on Pignataro. And, we kind of look at it here and kind of, don't want to see them either, wreck it in any form of way, but need them to kind of keep it clean. Uchinski on the rear bumper there of Steves makes some mistakes. Penales goes through, as well as Chalmers looking to go through here as well. So this battle has definitely come unstuck here, and Todd Barron and Chuck Jensen have absolutely gotten away here. And for Pignataro leading the second group, need to put their head down and kind of get on with it, set their differences aside, push each other forward to get up to Todd Barron and Chuck Jensen.
I mean, Steves may be able to overtake Pignataro, but I wouldn't argue that either is quicker than one another. They really need to work together here. It's a crucial part of the race. There's still 11 minutes to go, plus 2 laps. They have plenty of time to catch up. I don't know why they would be shuffling for position so early in a race. I mean, it's not like they're being held back by anything. Pignataro and Marshall Steves, 2 quick drivers. I mean, Pignataro was fighting for the win yesterday. If these 2 drivers see they're already pulling away from that group behind, they need to lock in right now. Jensen just needs to, Steves just needs to stay single file and work together. Jensen now also catching up to the back of Todd Barron. Those 2 are going to start working together, so if they really start fighting now, those 2 drivers will fly away.
Yeah, and, we haven't seen Chuck Jensen kind of work with any other driver in this field, and whenever he gets there, he kind of wants to go for the pass. So I would definitely not be surprised to kind of see Jensen to kind of go for a move on Todd Barron, and that could also bring the rest of this field kind of brought right back up into play. And Jensen arguably has a lot more pace than Todd Barron here at the moment, and you see him kind of peak to the bottom of the racetrack there for a second, gets back in line and continuing to push Barron. Barron looks back, and it's kind of like you said it yesterday with Aiden Rudolph and Josie Chambers kind of negotiating with them and kind of telling them, like, hey, let's work together here for a little bit, work our way up, find ourselves with some clean room to fight, and whenever we get to the 2 laps to go, let's give it all we got. But for Jensen, if he doesn't feel like he has that long run pace that Todd Barron does, and if they're doing exactly what they're doing now, this could benefit the group from 3rd on back. And if you're Pignataro, if you're Steves, you're seeing this, and you're kind of rubbing your hands together here, Rocco.
Yeah, this is definitely what they want to see. They'll catch up very quickly if Jensen keeps trying to overtake and not work together with Todd Barron, because, they're both quick. There's no reason to be fighting right now. I mean, Jensen, it does look very racy. In 1 lap, he managed to cover a 8th, 10th gap, so maybe he has something in the handbook. So now to the inside goes Barron. Jensen on Todd Barron for the lead. Barron, a very experienced driver, as we said. His last Duffy was 45 years ago, so he has a lot of experience under his belt. I would assume he would choose to just work with Jensen at this point, because there's no point in fighting. That group behind gained maybe a few tenths of a second on them after that defensive run into one of those hairpins. So Jensen, your new leader across the line. Barron closely followed in second, and that gap dropped from a 2.9 second gap to a 2 second gap.
Yeah, so almost a second here. What's been closed down, and sound the alarms here for a second, because Chuck Jensen opens up his gap to Todd Barron here. And Todd Barron, a very experienced driver, and won almost, I wouldn't say almost every kind of 206 Cup Karts North America event in the past couple of years, but he's won a lot. He's won a lot in the past, time. He won at the Summer Nationals not too long ago, and he was one of the favorites coming to this weekend. We see his name pop up to any entry list. You always think that this guy is going to be one of the ones to be up there in a fight, but Chuck Jensen, out of nowhere here this weekend, has had a lot of pace, doing double duty, and showed his pace very well. And at a drive that he had in kind of kart moto in Crescent, Texas earlier this year, surprised all of us here. So the native Texan here this weekend doing a good job to kind of put himself within a running to his first Duffy here this weekend.
Yeah, Jensen has a lot of pace right now. It's impressive to see him pull away like that on a track like this in a 206. Even with the draft, Barron should be at least able to suck up to the back of Jensen, but right now, as you can see, there's a small gap. Jensen, perhaps that's why he was so eager to get around Todd Barron, because he just knew how much faster he was. That gap seems to be slightly opening up. It's a 4/10 gap right now. right now. That gap behind's also opening back up about 0.6 of a second. So Todd Barron needs to get back up to the back of Jensen if he wants to fight for that Duffy. It seems like he is, though. He's gaining a lot of time through this short sector. I mean, he could also just be preserving his tires, you know. I mean, there's still so much left in this race to go. Such an experienced driver. If he knows he can have tires by the end of the race and push a lot harder than Chuck Jensen is right now, because he is pushing if he wants to pull away from Todd Barron like this, Jensen could be with less tire by the end of the race.
Yeah, and you know, a very good point that we haven't kind of thought about all weekend long. And you got to think about who kind of found themselves in the grass early on and saved that little bit of tire and whatever it could be. So we'll see how this race continues to progress. But Chuck Jensen definitely looking really strong here in this 206 Masters class. Phil Pignataro just hasn't had an answer so far to kind of get up there with Todd Barron and with Chuck Jensen. And, you know, scratch everything that we said earlier on today. Scratch what we said about pushing. Scratch what we said about kind of draft. Oh, none of that is kind of working out here for any of these drivers. Marshall Steve's probably a little bit of the draft kind of keeping him close to that rear bumper of Phil Pignataro. But besides that, I mean, for Todd Barron, you would expect that gap to kind of stay stagnant. For him to stay on that rear bumper of Chuck Jensen, he's probably either sandbagging here a little bit or doesn't have enough to kind of answer to Jensen. So it could be a lot of things. It could be a variety of things here for Todd Barron and for Phil Pignataro. But ultimately, in my eyes, what kind of hurt the driver here in third and what hurt the driver in fourth and what kind of hurt everybody from third on back was all the fighting that they did so early on in this race and kind of put him out of contention and made it a two-horse race up front with Todd Barron at Chuck Jensen. And obviously, a lot can change. We are in a sport where, you know, it's not over till it's over. It's not over till that checkered flag comes out at the end of the race, and it could go all the way down to the last corner, and Pignataro could be within a shot of a race victory here. I mean, think about, Dan Weldon's last Indy 500 when a driver crashes in the last corner. Weldon goes on to win it, and that's exactly what can happen here. So, anything can go on here with any of these guys, but the fact that they're doing what they're doing at their age and, you know, not trying to call any of them old to some sort, but to have the love of the sport that they all do, like Kyle Uchinsky to be able to run a track every single weekend and run a team like he's done, and Nick Maverick Miller with a family at home that I know is watching him here this weekend as Uchinsky locks up the brakes and goes around. Commentator's curse here for Kyle Uchinsky. Unfortunately, he's going to bring it into the pits, and that's going to be it there for Kyle Uchinsky here, and heartbreak for the TB Kart South team.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, he still was I mean, it's his track. He can do what he wants. I would have hoped that he would have stayed out on track because it is the final event of the weekend. So I mean, it'd be a good thing just to finish it off. You know, just finish off the IKF Grands. But he chose to just pull in. You know, relax for the rest of this main event. I don't blame him too much. I mean, he can do whatever he wants. But Pignataro and Steves getting a little close now. Hopefully Steves, if he pulls up to the back, will not try to fight with Pignataro because anything can happen. Barron is still only 3.5 tenths off of Jensen, and it stayed like that, so he may just be waiting for those two sticks to go before he really starts to push. If anything happens with those two leaders, these two could catch up if they just work together for now. They really don't have any pressure from behind either, so they can hold on to these positions and just work together. But we'll see what Steves does into the final corner. He decides to just hold it right behind Pignataro, both looking very good through that corner. No mistakes there from either of them. So you see that gap up in front. It has dropped the whole tenth. Now Todd Barron is only 2.5 tenths off of Jensen.
Yeah, only 2.5 tenths off here at the moment for Pignataro. So it's getting closer, and it's definitely closing down here a little bit. But that gap in between, Pignataro and Todd Barron, just at about 3 seconds, over 3 seconds. And from Todd Barron to Chuck Jensen, that gap kind of still opening up that little bit more. But again, I mean, whenever you talk about all these drivers in the field, Pignataro, very strong over in Florida, a very experienced driver, and very experienced especially in the karting community as well. Running a lot of the SSKC, running and still battling for race wins and podiums every time that he hits the racetrack. So good to see Pignataro out here this weekend, as well for Marshall Steves, a driver who we've seen a couple of times already this year. Good to see him here with the Trackside Karting Services GFC team and kind of showing his pace and putting himself in podium contention all weekend long, as well for Omar Pinales in the 5th spot. Kind of coming out here and racing against some of the guys that have arguably a lot more experience for a driver who's probably only been in the sport for about a year and a half and learning on the 206 side of things, starting from his rental kart background over in the Houston area. being here this weekend has definitely, he's shown his pace and shown himself to be a podium contender at the start of this weekend. So not bad at all for Omar Penales and Jeff Chalmers as well here this weekend. Coming over with Todd Barron. He's the other Mach 1 kart in the field. Currently sits 6th right behind Omar Penales. So not bad for Jeff Chalmers and Nick Maverick Miller as well, who as well has had a lot of pace this weekend, and unfortunately kind of gremlins kind of have put him on the back foot this weekend, and not what he would have hoped for, but definitely something that Nick Miller could be happy about. And as we work our way up to the front again, just under 3 minutes to go, and you're going to hear here Phil Pignataro kind of inching his way away from Marshall Steves here, and Penales kind of trying to inch his way closer to the rear bumper of Steves here to finish in a top 4 position. But nonetheless, it's been a good one so far. Jensen and Todd Barron keeping that gap kind of stagnant, and what could have been a celebration day here for Todd Barron, it's still not over. He still has to race senior, and the same for Chuck Jensen, but this was probably the best shot he had on going back-to-back, or not back-to-back, breaking that 45-year streak in between Duffys.
Yeah, if there was there's a gap in, I mean, I think you mentioned earlier it could be a record for the longest gap in between Duffys. So, I mean, he must be putting a lot of thought into this race right now. I mean, that gap has stayed at about 0.3 of a second this whole race since Jensen got to the lead. So, I mean, it doesn't seem like, Barron may just be managing his race. Like I said before, he may be really, really focusing on just keeping it as strategic as he can to have the advantage in these final few laps with Jensen. So just hanging out, watching what Jensen does. Jensen doesn't seem to be making too many mistakes. I hope I don't curse him with that. But he, right now, as he takes this long left-hander right here, he seems to have a huge, comfortable gap between him and Barron now.
Yeah, so let's try and take a listen here of the difference in gearing in between Todd Barron and Chuck Jensen for the next lap. Two sticks in the air here, and if you're Todd Barron, it's officially crunch time to try to get it back onto it and close down your gap to Chuck Jensen here. So again, 2 laps to go, 13 out of 14 laps completed so far, and it could have been a fairy tale ending to Todd Barron's day here, and a fairy tale ending to kind of 45 years in the making. But Chuck Jensen out of nowhere bursted onto the scene here this weekend and has been the driver to beat nonetheless, and has definitely been picture perfect so far, and has made moves when he's needed to. And Rocco, your keys to victory in the 206 categories today were pick your moves and kind of do them smartly.
Yeah, and that's one thing that these two front drivers did. Everybody behind didn't do that. They ended up falling back. Pignataro was a driver who was potentially going to fight for the win, but now, as you can see with what happened to him, it wasn't really his fault. It was more of what happened around him. He's 5 seconds back from your leader. You had Jensen being closely followed by Barron for a little while there. The gap was at about a 1/10.5 a few laps ago, about 2 laps ago, and seemed to have made a mistake and fallen out of the draft now. I mean, this is a really bad spot to be in. I mean, it It really isn't. He's still going to finish P2 if he can just keep it on track and keep it clean. But that's not what he came here for. He came here for the win. He wanted to, get that win after 45 years. I mean, not just a win. He's been winning elsewhere in CKNA and other races, but to really get a Duffy after 45 years would have meant a lot to Todd Barron. But as of right now, it is Chuck Jensen who is pulling away on this final lap.
White flag was in the air last time by, and this is going to be it for Chuck Jensen and Todd Barron here. That gap sits at a second, so all to play for here for Todd Barron, who could have been a picture-perfect ending to his weekend, and unfortunately hasn't been that way. The Burrell Hart machine out in front has kept it on the racetrack all race long and has done a good job of it. This is it, the last couple of corners onto the back straightaway here for Chuck Jensen. Still going to be a good ending for Todd Barron to finish with the podium here at the IKF Grand Nationals on what's going to be a long drive back home. But for Chuck Jensen, a fellow Texan here this weekend, going to put himself into the history books. Rounds the last corner. Chuck Jensen comes to the checkered flag, a sigh of relief. He wins the Duffy in 2024.
And finishing second, it will be Todd Barron, and then in third, Pignataro. Steves in fourth, Penales in, Penales in fourth place. What a good drive from Penales in his first ever, it's not his first ever race, but his first ever Kart Chaser stream to put on a good show for us. Steves in fifth, Chalmers sixth, Miller seventh, Dudley eighth, Tudor ninth, and Yuchinski pulling off early in this race.
So that's it for your 206 Masters. When we come back, more racing action set to come our way. You're watching Kart Chasers live coverage of the IKF Grand Nationals.
Maryland USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com.
So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're gonna need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com. They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rip protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next? Well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Car Class has done the hard work for you. We've traveled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Car Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack, pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate, and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States, and Australia, you're up next. So visit carclass.com to get your track information.
Here's your starting lineup for your KA100 Juniors. Tyrone Kemper Jr. on the inside. David Ibarra on the outside of row number 1. Tyler Roberts and Christopher Wakefield on row number 2. Matthew Duquette and Gavin McCune on row 3.
Hector Iturriaga and Easton Cox on row 4. Then it is Cruz and Henry on row 5. Cadence Presley and Aldo Iturriaga in row 6. And then London Skidmore on row 7 by themselves.
And there you have it. Your 13 drivers getting set to go green here today in KA100 Junior racing action. Ibarra for the first time this weekend going to start on the outside after winning the Screaming Eagle earlier this weekend. And Tyrone Kemper Jr., the kid from NOLA, starting on the inside and getting set to go green here in this main event. The race for the Duffy officially on for your KA100 Seniors, and for some of them, their first of their 2 tries here this weekend. Some of them doing double duty later on today in the 206 Junior class as well. So all to play for here for Kemper and Ibarra, who is their one and only shot here this weekend. So for the Carlos Sainz OTK driver there on the inside and the CRG Nordum driver there on the top of the screen, this is make or break and crunch time all the way through for these 15 minutes plus 2 laps. Enough of that now, and into the start boxes we go. David Ibarra here, Tyrone Kemper Jr. on the gas. Ibarra stuck on the outside, not the best start, but Tyrone Kemper Jr. holds on to the lead here. Everybody else cycling their way through, and Ibarra able to stay in the 3rd spot here. Christopher Wakefield falls back to 4th, and everybody else shuffling their way through the field. Luke Cruz, a good start for him. He's up and inside of the top 10 here. Everybody else side by side there further back. Kemper Jr. and Roberts break away here early on.
Yeah, everybody getting through the first few corners very cleanly there. Ibarra with a disadvantage being on that outside line. He had a little bit of a lazy start, but he managed to salvage it. We didn't get to see what happened coming through that first corner, but it seemed like a few drivers may have been shuffled off to the grass, but nobody got turned completely around. So it is your top 3 that have been fighting for the win almost every single time this since yesterday in the top 3. And you have Wakefield, another very fast driver in P4. He's a little bit further back, and as you see, the high 5 driver pulling down to the inside and doesn't get the position. He actually, the other driver, I think he got forced off the tracker. Not forced off, but went a little bit too wide and had to rejoin, lost a handful of positions there. Look at all these drivers. I think that is the 824 of Cruz leading that pack. They're all single file for now coming into the final corner. And as they come back around, I think that is Cox, Henry, Iturriaga, and Presley in that pack right there. We'll see as the timing updates. They're all still single file, potentially trying to work together and move forward, because if they start fighting right now, they will have not the highest position to fight for here. They really need to focus in and start working together. It seems to be looking good so far with Cruz up in the lead. He makes a few bobbles over those curves, hitting them pretty hard, but doesn't seem to be losing any time going over them. You see one of the drivers point forward. I think that was Iturriaga there with Cox behind him. Cox trying to go down the inside as well as Henry to get around, and Presley as well. Everybody gets around Iturriaga, losing 3 positions there. Unfortunate for that driver, but it's still very early in this race. We'll see what happens by the end of it. Now up in the front, that is Roberts in the lead now with Kemper following closely behind it. Ibarra. Then it'll be Wakefield and Duquette. That is your top 5 right now, running very closely. You get a push from behind from Kemper Jr. I believe that was a push. Indeed, it was. Still in the lead is Roberts as they come across. It'll be Roberts, Kemper, Ibarra, Wakefield, and Duquette, your top 5. Now, through turns 1 and 2, the bus stop chicane. Everybody's thinly spread, evenly spread across about a cart length between the top 4. It seems pretty tame up in the front. They're probably going to push forward for this time being, and we'll see what happens in 12 minutes plus 2 laps time. But you see Ibarra now getting a little bit close to the back of Kemper Jr. Is he going to push, or is he going to go around? I think he's going to stay single file for now. A bit of a gap between him and Kemper into the braking zone. It'd have to be a deep sin to go from that far back. Even though he's very close, you have to sit it deep on the brakes if you're not at least right on their bumper or alongside them, as Ibarra washes a little wide coming out of that long left-hander. And now it's very close and packed up with your top 3 there. Wakefield very close in 4th. He still needs to work on a little bit of a gap. If these 3 drivers start to pull away, you may see Wakefield get dropped by these top 3. But as of right now, no fighting as of right. Oh, no. Kemper to the inside, and so does Ibarra. They're both going to get that position on Roberts. From 1st to 3rd now goes Roberts, and promote Kemper to the lead this time by. still top 4. And as I say, Wakefield may have been dropped. Now he is there, very close with these top 4.
This top 4 has definitely been locked in all race long, and Ibarra, Kemper, Roberts, and Christopher Wakefield as well, who's had a lot of pace all race long, has definitely provided really good racing action all the way throughout this one.
Yeah, they've made a few moves for positions in the previous lap, but I don't think we'll see anything too crazy as of right now. I mean, all of these drivers have been racing for quite a long time, even though it's a junior class. I mean, they come up from other classes like Mini Swift, Micro Swift, Kid Kart, all of those classes. I mean, you can start in one and work your way up. But as you see, Roberts now to the inside, he fades back to the racing line. Thought better of it because, I mean, like I said, they shouldn't try and fight this early in the race.
Yeah, definitely not. But you also have to kind of take into consideration if one of these drivers is more long-run pace than the other. And there goes Roberts on the inside of David Ibarra. Roberts up to second. Tyrone Kemper Jr., that's going to give him a little bit of breathing room here, almost a car length in between Tyrone and Tyler Roberts. Ibarra falls back to third. And a new factor kind of this weekend to start this one off for Christopher Wakefield in fourth here. He's had pace but hasn't been there quite all the way through with Ibarra and Kemper and Roberts as well. So this could be a new factor here this weekend as Wakefield kind of gets more familiar with the two-stroke side of things as this weekend has kind of progressed. And there goes Roberts. Doesn't want to waste any time with David Ibarra. Tyler Roberts goes to the point. He's your new leader in KA Junior.
Yeah, GFC sandwich right now amongst these top 4. Roberts lost a few positions, but now he's all the way back up to the lead. Kemper and Ibarra still there. I mean, they're going to be glued together potentially this whole race. I would like to see it like that because they may deliver some good racing. Then no changes for position going into the corner before the long straightaway in the back. But now we see a move here almost every single lap. Is Kemper going to give the push or is he going to go to the inside? He gives the push. No moves here coming through the final corner. It'll still be Roberts holding that lead. These top 4 are governing whether Duquette can catch up or not if they keep fighting. If they work together, Duquette might get dropped, but he's still in no man's land within reach of a fight, or fighting for the win if these 4 fight at the end of the race.
Yeah, definitely for Matthew Duquette, the MSO driver, kind of trying to work his way inside of the top 4 and maybe put himself in contention for a podium finish. As well for Luke Cruz, the TB Kart South driver, not too far off in the 6th spot here, looking to race his way into a potential podium at his home track. Only living a couple of miles down the road here in Amarillo, so could be a good day for Luke Cruz if he's able to get it done. But Tyrone Kemper Jr., David Ibarra were the favorites coming into this one. Tyler Roberts are going to spoil the party, and Christopher Wakefield as well. A new kind of spoiler to the party that Ibarra and Kemper had, and it wasn't kind of smooth sailing all weekend long for Roberts. If you remember, he didn't have the pace that he quite hoped for in heat race number 1, and then heat 2 was much better for him. Heat 3 was a lot better for him, getting himself in the mix and fighting with these 2 drivers that are right behind him. And for Christopher Wakefield this morning in the warm-up session, he had a really good showing. Cadence Presley as well, who's up to 7th. So all these drivers kind of getting in the mix and putting themselves in the conversation to take Duffy here today, and everybody looking to become a first-time winner here this weekend. Roberts, Ibarra, Kemper, and Wakefield all looking to win it here for the very first time, and there's a lot of first-time winners here this weekend, and we haven't had too many repeat winners. It could come on later on today, but in this one, it was, if you remember, Santi Duran last year at Speedsports Racing Park beat Landon Skinner for the Duffy, and none of those drivers obviously competing here today. And if a couple of these drivers were in that race last year, then they're definitely going to want to be hungrier to win it here this weekend. This is a battle further back in the field. A couple of the high fives of Easton Cox, Davis Henry, it's Huriaga in here, as well as Gavin McCune, who leads them away. We heard from McCune earlier. He is still learning from the two-stroke side of things, but a new change for the lead. Tyrone Kemper Jr. back up to the point. David Ibarra going to follow him through.
Yeah, for about a lap and a half, you had Kemper pushing on Roberts there, and as they both go down the inside of Ibarra, both teammates pushing each other through to get second and third. Ibarra puts a hand up. He's a bit upset about it. I don't know if there was a bit of contact or a little bit of a hip check. I didn't see one, but he's definitely not happy about that move. But, yeah, so...
Yeah, I think, sorry to interrupt here, Rocco, but I think the only thing that Ibarra was kind of frustrated with was the fact that, he wanted to get there and kind of help stay in a line for a little bit longer, and kind of went on Tyrone Kemper Jr. at a point that thought, or that, the other drivers, the GFC drivers, went on him on a point where it was kind of not right. But there goes Tyler Roberts on the inside of Tyrone Kemper Jr. Roberts back up to the point. Wakefield's going to follow through, and now Ibarra side by side with Tyrone Kemper Jr. They need to get over this pretty quickly. Kemper over the curb there. He's going to fall back to 4th and lose a little bit of time and a little bit of track position there. And that little bit closer, Matthew Duquette gets even closer that time by Ibarra late on the brakes, almost sideways getting that move done. David Ibarra up to 2nd.
They're not battling too hard just yet. I mean, it's still kind of early for 6 minutes left to go, but they're losing a little bit of ground to Roberts. They're going to catch right back up as I say that in the braking zone. It is still a very tightly knit top 4 with Duquette trailing behind. He's about 2.4 seconds off of your leader, but now as the timings update, he has gained about 0.6 of a second on this lead group right here, and it's Roberts in the lead, Ibarra, and then Wakefield, and in 4th, Kemper Jr. We'll see what happens when they come out of this tight section. It's a bit hard to make overtakes in here just because of how tight it is, and you can really cover off that inside easily by driving a tighter line. And as these drivers come through this hairpin, they're still all single file. I think they're going to work together for the time being.
Look, and I think you made a really good point about that section. You know, it's super hard to pass there, and especially that's one of the spots to pass where if you kind of do go for a move, you're going to lose a whole lot of time, and that's going to allow another driver like Duquette, the MSO driver, further back to kind of close down the gap to the top 4. So if you're David Ibarra, you know, it kind of looked like he wanted to call his shot on the inside of Tyler Roberts, but if you look who's behind you in Christopher Wakefield, I wouldn't expect much help from one of the teammates there of Roberts, and you see how much speed all these drivers carry on the main straightaway, on the back straightaway, sorry, I should say, and you know, how much they close up as there they go, getting closer and closer. Ibarra wants to go for it in turn number 1. We haven't seen too many passes. We're going to see one here now. Ibarra to the point, Wakefield a 2nd, Tyler Roberts a 3rd, and Kemper still holding on there in 4th, but you see that gap starting to split up, and this is really dangerous zone here for Tyrone Kemper Jr. and Tyler Roberts. If these two drivers on your screen here decide to work together, push each other forward, they could potentially try and get away from 3rd on back, which is Roberts and Tyrone Kemper Jr., making a 2-horse race here. So this is you know, probably the best showing that Wakefield's had on a 2-stroke machine so far this year, and you know, kind of still learning kind of the racing, still learning the package here this weekend, learning a new go-kart for him this weekend as well. So learning experience for Wakefield, and kind of a similar experience that all these drivers have been. Ibarra coming off of a big win at Kart Moto over in Crescent not too long ago, earlier this year at the Texas Spin Racing Series, and Wakefield not familiar with any of these drivers all too much and just wants to win a Duffy here this weekend and has a good shot so far in this KA Junior class.
Yeah, Wakefield seems to be the least aggressive of the 4 drivers. You see him not really making too many overtakes on his own. He's either him pushing his teammate through or just following an overtake through. It's a very smart race from him. He's finding himself now in the P2 position because of it, and his teammates right behind him. It's a good sign for Wakefield and Roberts now. Having help is definitely a huge thing, but once these 2 laps come by, it definitely will tear those team patches off and start fighting each other. But as of right now, it's a very, very healthy 8-wheel kart in P2 and P3.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Wakefield and Roberts have definitely worked together quite nicely all weekend long, and they've done a good job of it because they're not letting Ibarra get away here. That gap opens up here a little bit. So, in my eyes, what could probably help them out here is a pass there by Wakefield to kind of stack it up, and that's exactly what Wakefield does, kind of steals the words right out of my mouth. And there goes Wakefield to the point of the field. Ibarra a 2nd, Roberts a 3rd, and Tyrone Kemper Jr. brought right back into play, and they lost a little bit of time. This is going to help out Duquette as there goes Ibarra on the inside. Roberts goes through, Kemper going side by side with Wakefield, moves out of line, slots back in line, but here comes Matthew Duquette, Rocco.
Yeah, Duquette is gaining very rapidly now after all this fighting. They still have 2.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go, so still plenty of time in this race to see what Duquette can do if he catches up to this front group. Single file going through the first of this tight section right here. Ibarra with the lead, 2 teammates behind. It's a lot of pressure for Ibarra to handle, but I bet he in his own mind, bet he can handle that. He has a lot of confidence because if you're going to lead a race, you need to believe in yourself. You need to know you can win these races, and I bet all 5 of these drivers have that same belief. You have Kemper kind of losing ground of these top 3, but he has Duquette now as a saving grace to push him back forward. Wakefield by himself, no pushing partner, not getting pushed. He might get the draft, but he also will get drafted by that 2-kart group behind him. Now will we see Roberts make a move into the final corner on Ibarra? He might do it to slow it down and get his teammate back up there, or he might think about his own race and just try to pull away from the rest of them, but I don't think it's going to matter because they'll all bunch back up by these next few straights.
Yeah, Ibarra there on the exit, dropped the tire. He knows it. Going to start to defend here. goes to the bottom, trying to cover off that mistake that he just made, and that's going to bring Wakefield back into play, and possibly Tyrone Kemper Jr. and Duquette, and Ibarra kind of lifts his hand up. He's like, yeah, I made a mistake, I know, but he probably didn't want Roberts to pass him, but there goes Tyler Roberts to the point of the field. Ibarra in second, and you were talking a lot about the team game and how it's a lot of pressure for David Ibarra, but I mean, you have to remember, David Ibarra, kind of that CRG Northern team just resurged this year and doesn't have many teammates, doesn't have any junior teammates under that tent at any time, at any given time. Usually him and his dad kind of work a solo operation, and this weekend, he's always been kind of a solo game in the junior class for the CRG Northern team, and he's kind of used to this. It's fought a lot on the national scene, and Tyrone Kemper Jr. as well. You talk about a privateer. There goes Tyrone Kemper Jr. on the inside of Wakefield. He gets clear. Kemper back up to third, and a little bit of breathing room here for David Ibarra and Tyler Roberts.
Yeah, a bit of a split in this top 5 group now. You have the 2 leaders out in front. Ibarra decides to not go for the overtake now, trying to minimize the time lost, trying to overtake. He seems to make a little bit of a mistake because Roberts pulls about a cart length coming out of the exit, so he may fall back into the clash of Kemper and Wakefield. Duquette is now there also. He's still just right there, a few cart lengths back, working really hard to try and get to that front pack. He's so close now, but Kemper and Wakefield need to work together and put aside their differences if they're going to catch back up to these top 2. This is not the time to overtake with these 3 drivers right here. If we see an overtake, I don't think we will into this corner. These top 2, no. Roberts and Ibarra, still a little bit of a spread between the top 2. Ibarra unable to close that gap from the start of this lap, but we'll see what happens when we come down to the back straight.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty much it here for Tyler Roberts and company. 2-6 will be in the air this time by whenever they cross the stripe. So if you're David Ibarra, definitely have to get a move on here and close down that gap to Tyler Roberts. You can't let him get away, especially with 2 laps to go. This draft here going to help David Ibarra so much, and he needs to keep it clean here on the exit. He does. 2 sticks in the air, not the final lap. 2 sticks in the air, 15 laps down, 2 laps to go in KA100 Junior.
Yeah, you have Roberts holding that 3/10 gap on Ibarra at the last lap. A very good lap from Roberts, even though he has he's giving a tow behind. But as you can see, the 2nd through 4th drivers are starting to bunch back up. And if they can push all the way up to that front on the back straight, they could get back up and fight for the lead. Right now, there are no changes for position. They're also hanging out, waiting for someone to make a move first. We did see the 2-6 to go, so now it is crunch time. We're going to see a lot of drivers start to really push. I think Roberts was probably pushing for a long time now because he's been able to hold that 3/10 gap even with the tow. As you see Duquette try to make a move on Wakefield there, can't get it done. It's going to only hurt him on his exit. And Roberts looking really healthy here on the back straight.
Yeah, very, very good for Tyler Roberts on this back straightaway. If anything, Tyrone Kemper Jr. looks like he has probably more pace than David Ibarra here, who could probably be struggling with just that little bit too much of grip in his chassis. So anything can happen here, but Ibarra definitely not going as fast as he was early on in this one, so could really be anything here for Ibarra, but has to get there, has to get to the rear bumper of Tyler Robertson. How many times have we seen this already this year? That CRG Northern team battling with that GFC Trackside Karting Services team. We saw it at the opening round of the Tech Sport Racing Series with Hayden Rudolph and Jesus Vasquez Jr. We saw it multiple times, and this time it's David Ibarra and Tyler Roberts, the stars of tomorrow, going at it here on the final lap. Ibarra looking to go on Tyler Roberts. He has help from Tyrone Kemper Jr. to kind of push him and get up there, and that's exactly what Ibarra needed after losing just that little bit of time. Ibarra going to follow him to the bottom. Kemper to the top. Duquette looking to go on Wakefield as well. Roberts hard on the brakes. Can Kemper set up an over-under move? Duquette just a little bit overzealous there. Can't get it done on Christopher Wakefield. And now all coming to the checkered flag this time by. The double sticks are going to be in the air. Can Ibarra do something on Tyler Roberts? Not close enough. Kemper looking over under Ibarra, looking to get through on Tyler Roberts. Kemper Jr. on the inside, gets it done. Tyrone Kemper Jr. wins the Duffy.
Wow, what a move by Kemper. A little bit of a accident happening in the final corner. Oh, wow. That bumper is lodged into the NASA panel in the front. They're going to have to pull that way out. I've never seen a bumper get hooked so bad. Oh, no, that NASA panel has been ripped off of the bumper up in front. So,
goodness gracious, what a race that these young men just deliver here. Tyrone Kemper Jr., the kid from New Orleans, has won the Duffy in 2024. Christopher Wakefield in second, Tyler Roberts rounds up your podium.
Yeah, David Ibarra, a hard-fought fourth-place position. I mean, he had a shot for the win, couldn't quite get there. Duquette, also one who caught up at the very end, but struggled to make positions. Easton Cox in sixth place, then Cruz, Henry, McCune, Hector Iturriaga, and then it is Cadence Presley, Aldo Iturriaga, and then London Skidmore in 13th.
Yeah, so there you guys have it for your KA Junior main event, and on our toes the entire way through. And you know, they say first place isn't the place to be, and some people may even say they favor being in that second spot at the end of the race. And this kid from third place played it out perfectly. They both went to the bottom. He went on the outside, got the over-under done nicely, and Tyrone Kemper Jr. wins the Duffy here. When we come back, more racing action set to come your way. You're watching Kart Chasers live coverage of the IKF Grand Nationals. Don't go anywhere.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Car Class has done the hard work for you. We've traveled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Car Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack, pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate, and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States, and Australia, you're up next. So visit carclass.com to get your track information.
USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parallel Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParallelinUSA.com.
Welcome back. Your 206 Cadets getting set to go green here for their race. 19 drivers total. Tanner Barsh starting on the inside and on the pole position alongside Sawyer Chambers. Maz Borche. Goodness gracious, Rocco. Aston White starting on the second row. I'll leave it to you at this point.
I was muted for a second, sorry. McCormick and Williams on row 3. Morowek and Jerrier on row 4. It'll be Mitchell and Blim on row 5.
Marshall Steves and Jensen Willander starting on row number 6. Tory Dangerous Daniels and Wyatt White on row number 7. Salvador Ruiz and Yuramangelis Vargas on row number 8.
And then you got Peters and Osborne on row 9, and then Simon Klein by himself on row 10.
Well, there you guys have it. 19 drivers total, and probably the biggest class that we've seen here in the state of Texas in 206 Cadet. It's all getting set to go green here in a couple of moments' time, and I believe after post-race penalties, Aston White was the winner in that Mini Swift class earlier on today, but we'll see what it looks like. A lot more drivers looking to get into the fight here today. Tanner Barsh, Sawyer Chambers, who's had a lot of pace in that Kart Republic Ferguson Truck Center machine, who's going to start on the outside, and it's been quite difficult nonetheless, but we'll see how it plays out here. Borche as well, having a lot of pace there on the inside. Can probably get in here in the mix as well, so already on the gas, green flag is out, and we are racing here in 206 Cadet on the inside. Borche looking to go through. Contact on the outside. Aston White gets collected Theodore Mitchell, Benjamin Osborne all get collected. Simon Klein able to get through, but unfortunate end to a couple of these drivers' race early on. And man, oh man, unfortunate start to this race.
Yeah, Simon Klein really needed that because he's been starting from the tail end of this field, and he needs to make as many positions as quickly as he can. He's a fast driver, so I wouldn't be surprised if he makes up a lot of positions throughout this 15-minute plus 2 lap race. As you see Chambers going down the inside of that Lando Norris kart right there. Borche, my bad. Sorry, Miles. So Chambers trying to do another sin down the inside, can't get that move on Borche there. So Borche taps his helmet, tells Chambers to work together because right now they're just slowing each other down.
Yeah, and a couple of these other drivers as well looking to work their way through, and already a little bit of a gap with Tanner Barsh further on back, and you see Borche there kind of tap the back of his helmet, want to work his way forward, and for the first time this weekend, Drew Blem finding himself closer to the top 5 here, so Blem as well making up some good time, and we'll try and get that timing screen up as quick as we can. But everybody else working their way through, and there we have it. Tyler Morowak not too far back in 7th, right behind Blem. And a couple of other drivers as well. Steve's up there in this group, the lead GFC driver of this train on your screen here now. And everybody kind of telling their drivers to push their way up the field and kind of trying to catch right back up to the podium places here. And Sawyer Chambers and Borche kind of hold on to here.
Yeah, Chambers got around Borche there for that second place position. Now they're going to potentially work together. Borche, he was tapping his helmet earlier, so now that they're in a new order, I would assume that he would also just be totally fine working with Chambers. Chambers is a very fast driver, so he definitely wants to get ahead of everybody and just work his own pace to get back up to the leaders because he knows he's fast. Borche knows Chambers is fast, so he will most likely just end up following him. But on our screen, he's getting a little bit of a gap now to Chambers. Chambers seems to be pulling away ever so slightly. We'll see what happens down this back straight. And we have a much larger group behind fighting much harder right now than these two right here. They may just work together for the time being.
Yeah, and I think you said it perfectly. Those two drivers in Chambers, and you see Drew Blem there kind of give a thumbs up behind as Steve's, to Morowak to continue to push him forward. So, I mean, quite funny on our side, but that thumbs up usually, a good sign of respect. And we talk about negotiating all weekend long, and there you have it from those two drivers kind of negotiating their spot, and they know they're gaining time to the top 3. So, as long as everybody's happy, then it's all good and smooth sailing. And for Aston Wyatt, it hasn't been smooth sailing so far in this one. Found himself in the grass kind of early on in this one and having to work his way up the field, and already done a good job back inside of the top 10 after falling out of it early on in this one in the first corner. So Wyatt already looking to make a move. Tap on the back of the helmet there for Steve's. Wyatt going to go on the inside. He's going to get clear. So another spot gain there for Aston Wyatt.
Yeah, Aston Wyatt slicing through this field right now. It was unfortunate that he got caught up in that first lap incident, but he's already up into the 6th place position. Very impressive from Wyatt. I mean, it's the same thing we see every week, and from Wyatt, he's a national class driver. We see him fight for wins all the time whenever he comes out to these sort of events, and he's showing us time and time again what kind of caliber driver he is. He's already on the back of, I believe that is Morowak, or that is Blem right there. That's Drew Blem, and I believe that is Morowak ahead, or Steve's, one of the GFC drivers. So he is already up to the tail of Blem, potentially going to make an overtake into turn 1. We'll see what happens. He's probably going to pull down to the inside if he can get him under braking. A little bit of a gap. I think he's going to think a little better of it and see what he can do after this small straight right here.
Yeah, so already Wyatt kind of closing down the gap there to the rear bumper there of Morowak. So he's looking to kind of trying to find his way through, and Drew Blem there as well. So Blem looking for the move there on Morowak. Hasn't been able to get it done for now, but Aston Wyatt, it's been up and down day for him. Kind of crossed the line there in second at the start of that mini Swift. Ultimately did take the Duffy in that one, but if he wants to go back to back, and he wanted to go back to back here this weekend with 2 Duffys kind of on the back foot all weekend long in this cadet class, and he struggled. And a driver who hasn't struggled, Tanner Barsh, kind of in both classes, and Sawyer Chambers as well. Only running 1 class here this weekend, but already on the rear bumper of Barsh, and that's all due to either he has more pace than Barsh here at this point in the race, or this, the draft also has brought him right back into play and on the rear bumper of that CRG MSL machine. So we'll see what it looks like for Chambers. We saw him kind of pass early on to kind of get up there to the rear bumper of Barsh. So we'll see how he decides to play it out here in this one. We saw Wyatt kind of push with Barsh all the way to the end, and it was a cat and mouse game all the way there, but this time it could be different. Two different driver, one driver that's the same as it was in the Mini Swift, but a different driver kind of playing the second role here.
And Aston Wyatt already up into the P4 position. He's made it around both Blim and Morowek for P4, and now he has Borche to work with to try and potentially get up to that lead pack. I mean, we'll see what happens as this race unfolds. We still have 9.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go. These two leaders, it seems that Chambers is very happy to push Tanner Barsh around this racetrack because he's seems to be the fastest driver on track right now, so it'd be preferred if he was the pushing partner to help pull away from the rest of this field, and then he may try and get around and drop Tanner, but I don't think it would be that easy to drop a driver like Barsh. As we can see right now, he's been fighting for the win all weekend long, especially in the heats, but as of right now on our screen, that is Aston Wyatt. He's trailing down on Borche right now. I believe behind him, that is Morowek pushing. That is a great situation for those two drivers right now. They're going to make up a bunch of time on Borche there and hopefully try to work their way up to the leaders.
Yeah, so Morowek right there kind of pushing Aston Wyatt along, and they have a lot of pace on this back straightaway. There goes Wyatt on the inside. He's able to get clear there on Miles Borche, who kind of bobbles it on the exit there of the double left-hander, and that's not going to help Miles Borche out at all. The kid from California going to have to get, I guess, back on the horse here and try and close down the gap to the driver who's now sitting on the podium in Aston Wyatt. And crazy to think this kid kind of found himself off the racetrack in the first corner, and again, keeping his head down and kind of staying in it, staying with it here to get himself within contention of a second Duffy here this weekend, Rocco.
Yeah, incredibly fast driver right there, and it's good that he found a pushing partner because that's only going to help his progression now, especially if they can get Borche in the mix. They can, on the timing, Borche seems to be 5th place. I don't think that is correct, but if they can add 3 drivers up onto this train right here, they could definitely make up a bit more time because 3 karts will definitely be faster than 2. Barsh and Chambers still working together out in front. You just saw them at the very bottom of your screen as we switched over to this camera, and it's going to be pretty stagnant up in front for now. They're just going to pull away and try to put the biggest cushion that they can before they start fighting in these final 2 laps. On our screen now, that is is that Borche?
Borche, correct. Yeah,
Oh.
Borche is there goes McCormick on the inside looking to get clear there. Apologies for the slight technical difficulties on our camera, but there goes McCormick on the inside of Borche. Blem looked to go through there as well. McCormick in the VLR gets ahead of both of those drivers, and McCormick now on the edge looking in from a podium. Curly sits in 4th here, so a good move that time by McCormick to get through. Morowek is the driver in 4th here, so Borche there further back, but a good move that time by for McCormick nonetheless, and looking to work his way kind of further up this field here. But your leaders kind of running away with it here. About three, almost 4 seconds, the gap in between 2nd and 3rd, which is Chambers and Wyatt respectively. So not too much. Morowek still pushing along with Wyatt, and this is kind of on the edge of the top 5. McCormick in the VLR kind of leading them, leading this train here. But for Miles Borche, a good weekend so far, and obviously a little bit of contact early on kind of put him on the back foot here as this race progressed. So that LN kart still looking pretty racy here in this one, and kind of looking to go back here on McCormick at some point. McCormick taps the back of the helmet, points forward, and we'll see how much kind of that means, and if Borche wants to follow along after kind of getting passed by McCormick the lap prior. So it's kind of funny because, you know, you tap the back of the helmet, you're like, all right, I'll push you, but I completely jumbled that up. Push me, you know, as long as I'm the one in front, and, you know, I don't want to push you as long as I'm the guy in the second of this train. So that's kind of how it works out usually in racing with us race car drivers, and, you know, that's how it is. And if these guys can kind of, you know, have the respect for each other and push each other along, it's definitely how it's going to benefit them in a way to fight it out for a top 5 finishing spot here.
Yeah, definitely a benefit if these 3 drivers can just work together and focus on the task at hand. They have I think that is McCormick out in the lead with Borche and Blim followed behind. They have a big gap to work on if they're going to catch up to Wyatt. He's a very fast driver. It seems like that gap between Morowek and Chambers, as Morowek has gotten around Aston Wyatt in one of the corners, but they're still working together quite nicely. that gap has opened up even more. It went from a 4-second gap, and it is now almost a 5-second gap between your second and third place drivers. We still have 5 minutes left to go, so we'll see what happens when they come around again. We'll see what that time looks like now. It looks like it may just be a race between Tanner Barsh and Sawyer Chambers, but when the time comes around and updates, we'll see, and it is a whole nother second loss to their leaders. Your top two absolutely flying right now.
Yeah, again, I mean, anything can happen if Chambers and Barsh get together at any point in this race. You know, the driver in third could definitely be the driver to come away with the win here. So for Morowek and Aston Wyatt, if whatever driver kind of ends up in that third spot, it could definitely fall into their hands, right? So anything can happen here in this one. And for Aston Wyatt, on the rear bumper here of Morowek, not making a move just yet. And we've seen kind of Wyatt do this earlier on today. Likes to push, likes to learn here a little bit, and we'll see when he kind of decides to make that move. But also have to realize that McCormick and company are kind of closing down their gap to the edge of the top three. So, and you know, we were talking about kind of push or be pushed, and I think if you're Miles Borche here and you're seeing yourself kind of get closer to the edge of the top three, closer to the edge of the podium here, and closer to, you know, a national podium here in 206 Cadet, you're going to be happy and content to continue to push McCormick, who continues to kind of bring Drew Blem and Borche along with them to get inside of a range to, you know, end up on a podium here at the IKF Grand Nationals. So all those drivers content to push, and all those drivers content to give themselves a shot on the podium finish here today.
Yeah, you see McCormick porting forward. These three drivers have been staying in the same order ever since we last saw them on screen, so it seems to be working very nicely for them. They're catching up, as you said, to that group up ahead. You can put them almost on the same screen now, but still Aston Wyatt and Morowek really trying to work together and gain any time that they can on this pack from behind, but I don't think they will have any chance to catch the group up in front unless something spectacular happens with our leaders, as that gap has now opened up to 7 seconds. As you have Aston Wyatt try to go down the inside of Morowek. He waves him by. This isn't going to help him at all. We're going to see what happens with these top five. So not top five, this group of five. This definitely not the top five, but now as you see Aston Wyatt fading down low, trying to get the position on Morowek. He's going to get a push from McCormick and Borche there. They're going to make up a bunch of positions, and Morowek loses a handful.
Yeah, difference this time around is that Aston Wyatt definitely had help from McCormick, so the top three is definitely changed and definitely shuffled here. Aston Wyatt on the edge, McCormick brought right back into play, and unfortunate there further back from Morowek, lost a little bit of time. Drew Blem as well, a little bit of a gap, 3 car lengths in between Borche and Morowek, so they're going to have to kind of get on it here if they want to get closer to Aston Wyatt, Borche, and McCormick here. But this is a battle for third on back, and they're kind of battling like it's the race win here. McCormick on the outside, Wyatt to the bottom, Borche looking to follow through. What's going to happen here? Wyatt gets through, Borche goes through, and McCormick, unfortunately, loses a spot there and loses a little bit of time here. But 2 minutes left to go in this race. The battle for the lead about to kick off here in a couple of moments' time.
Yeah, as you saw, he had McCormick stuck on the outside, lost 2 positions there. It's unfortunate, but that's how racing goes sometimes when you're positioned on the wrong part of the racetrack. And you can see now you have Morowek getting close to McCormick as well. And now our leaders, Sawyer Chambers, has gotten around Tanner Barsh for that lead. And it seems that the racing has already kicked off up in the front.
Racing has definitely kicked off here in between Sawyer Chambers and Tanner Barsh's battle for the lead. Kind of opening up here a little bit, changed positions last time around, and Barsh able to close down. And for Sawyer Chambers, it's been kind of a wild ride in 2024. Let's take a look back to the 2024 Summer Nationals at Cup Karts North America. Sawyer Chambers led almost every single lap of that race there at Pit Race in Pittsburgh International. And unfortunately, in the end, got passed in the last lap, almost in the last corner there for Sawyer Chambers, and he was kind of defeated after finishing second at a national event, and now this time out gets another shot, and a little bit similar to what it looks like. Sawyer Chambers running that same chassis that he did at Cup Karts North America for the Summer Nationals, and right behind him, the same colors, the CRG, right behind him, looking to kind of take away another national trophy away from Sawyer Chambers, the kid from Houston, Texas, looking to get it done here at the IKF Grand Nationals in 2024. Next time when they cross the stripe, the 2 sticks are going to be up in the air.
Yeah, it was unfortunate that Tanner Barsh was penalized in his mini Swift race earlier in these main events because he had a spectacular move around the outside here that could have potentially sealed the win if it weren't for that an unfortunate penalty, but now he has a chance to redeem himself if he can get around Sawyer Chambers for this win. It is 15 seconds left to go. It's going to be very close when they come to the line if we're going to get the 2 sticks to go or not. I think we will get 3 laps to go this time by. So your leader, Chambers, 1 more lap to go before the 2 sticks in the air. And it is just going to be these two fighting for this win.
3 laps to go, and ultimately, Rocco, you are correct. Only 2 drivers here who are kind of pulled away from the rest of the field by 8 seconds here. Sawyer Chambers and Tanner Barsh to kind of put a gap on the field like they have here today in this 206 cadet class with 19 drivers total. It's kind of unheard of, and Tanner Barsh doesn't want to be in second for much longer. He goes on the inside. Tanner Barsh to the lead here with 2 laps to go next time by.
Yep, Tanner Barsh now back to the lead. He really wants this win, especially after what happened earlier today, as I said. So we'll see what happens when they get the 2 sticks out. It still seems to be slightly tame. They're not doing anything too crazy. And as I say that, you have Sawyer Chambers pull down to the inside. He's going to get that lead before the back straight. And Tanner Barsh very close. He won't have the biggest draft and run because he's already right to the bumper of Sawyer Chambers. Will a move be made into this final corner? He seems to fade a little bit to the inside. He might wait. I'm not too sure. It seems that he's going to wait until we get these 2 sticks to make any next moves.
Sawyer Chambers has come oh so close many times before in 206 cadet national races, and this time he's got to defend with everything that he's got. 2 sticks in the air, officially crunch time for Sawyer Chambers to become a national race winner, a national champion in IKF history here, put himself in the history books here this weekend. Sawyer Chambers has to defend from Tanner Barsh, a kid who's been so dominant all weekend long in both of the cadet classes here this weekend. And Barsh still with a lot of pace, still on the rear bumper here of Sawyer Chambers. Chambers going to the bottom. Barsh on the outside, looking to get an over-under move done on Chambers. Can he get it done? They're going to go side by side there for a second, and not close enough for Tanner Barsh to get the run on around the outside. Chambers still going to go defensive here in the quad apex.
Yeah, you saw Tanner Barsh go high there as Sawyer Chambers seems to be very defensive right now. He's going to hold the inside of the racetrack. There's still a little bit of a gap for a kart to go down that inside, but it seems that Tanner Barsh decides to get the run on Chambers there. He has a bit of a no, I was going to say he had a small gap to get a run, but he is still sucked right to the bumper. We have 1 more lap to go this time by for these 2 drivers. We're going to see who can get the Duffy at IKF Grands in Amarillo, Texas. It is just these 2, 8 seconds back to the next fight of this race. You can see Sawyer Chambers goes down to the inside. Tanner Barsh goes wide. He's going to try and get the over-under. He seems to get a better exit, but still right onto the bumper of Sawyer Chambers there. He goes to the outside. Sawyer Chambers defends on the inside in this tight section. It's going to be hard to make an overtake here. Only about 2 overtaking opportunities, or 3 left to go on this racetrack if Tanner Barsh is going to come away with this win.
Sawyer Chambers doing a masterclass of defending to this point here. Barsh going to have to get creative here with Sawyer Chambers. Barsh again going to try it around the outside, try to set up that over-under move. He has a good run this time out. Going to get the inside into the quad apex. Barsh on the bottom of the racetrack. Sawyer Chambers to the top. Tanner Barsh goes to the lead here, and he's going to get it done. A good gap, about a car length in between Barsh and Sawyer Chambers. He timed that perfectly. Barsh now going to have to defend, goes to the bottom of the racetrack. Chambers to the top. 1 more passing zone for Sawyer Chambers, looking to set up his over-under run on Tanner Barsh. It's the Ferguson Truck Center Kart Republic against the MSL CRG. They're going to go side by side on the back straightaway. Chambers on the outside. Barsh on the outside, Chambers on the inside. Can Barsh set up an over-under? He's going to get it done. It's on the inside. A drag race all the way to the line. A little bit of contact. Tanner Barsh is going to get it done in 206 Cadet. He's a Duffy winner.
The exact same move he made in that mini Swift race to try and get the provisional win from the Swift class. Sawyer Chambers a close second place. Aston Wyatt, a recovery drive all the way to the podium. He was taken out in the first turn, comes all the way back to finish on that podium. Borche in 4th, Blim in 5th.
Goodness gracious, Rocco, I need to catch my breath here after what a race these 2 drivers have delivered. And unfortunately there for Sawyer Chambers, the wait has to continue for him here this weekend. It was oh so close at Cup Karts North America for the Summer Nationals, and it was oh so close this time at the IKF Grand Nationals. But Tanner Barsh, your winner in 206 Cadet. Aston Wyatt, good way to round off the podium for him, and good way to end the day for Aston Wyatt and the AR Academy team. Miles Borche, P4. Drew Blem rounds up your top 5.
Bryson McCormick in 6th place. It'll be Williams in 6th. Morwick 8th, Steve's 9th, Jerry are your top 10. Then it'll be Simon Klein from the back of the field, makes it all the way up to 11th place. Then it is Daniels in 12th, Osborne 13th, Willander 14th, and Wyatt White in 15th.
Well, with all that being said, 206 Cadet definitely delivered some great racing action. When we come back, a couple of the stars return to the racetrack. Alex Stanfield, Peyton Phillips, Landon Skinner go at it to win a Duffy. You're watching Kart Chaser's live coverage of the 2024 IKF Grand Nationals. Don't go anywhere.
So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're gonna need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com. They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes,
Yep,
gloves,
yep,
rib protectors.
got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next? Well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
Here at MPG Motorsports, our main goal is to provide the best pathway into professional motorsports for our entire team, drivers and mechanics alike. We're based out of Whiteland Raceway Park in Indiana. For more information, contact us at chase@mpg-motorsports.com.
Studies show that even the best current generation of simulators only convince 50% of the human brain that they are real. Here at Simcraft, that just isn't realistic enough. Developed to offer the most realistic karting sim experience in the world, all testing has shown that the physics engine used in Simcraft's Grid 1 model convinces 90% of the human brain that you are actually on track. Now that is the real deal.
Welcome back to Amarillo, Texas here as our KA100 Seniors get set to go green. As always, my name is Caleb Vieska. Joining me up here in the booth for this KA Senior Final, since he's not racing, the one and only Aiden Rudolph.
Hello there.
So we're going to run you down your field here. Alex Stanfield and Peyton Phillips starting on row number 1. Landon Skinner, Dallas Dunlap on row 2.
Row 3, Truly Adams and Ethan Williams. And then Jake Walker and Zaner Clemens, the TB cars, running out your 4th row there.
You go back to Ian Howell and Nicholas Sofer on row number 5, Evan Donnell and Cohen Summers on row 6, Ryan Clark and Max Sega on row 7, Nathan Heath and Wyatt Renfro rounding out your field here, your 16 drivers in KA100 Senior. It's been a good weekend of racing so far for all these drivers. A little bit of contact to start off the weekend in heat race number 1 in between Stanfield and Phillips. But, you know, we know how hard it's been to kind of start on the outside so far this weekend. And Phillips, unfortunately, has to do it one more time this time out and start on the outside and kind of get it done from out there. And he tried to time it perfectly to let Skinner by so he can start in third for the main event, but just didn't work out there in the end for Peyton Phillips to kind of get that done properly. But this time out, it's going to be all to play for here. Stanfield and Peyton Phillips, and a lot more drivers looking to get into the mix here. Just we've already seen how difficult it's been to start on the outside line, and just hope they all kind of make it cleanly. And you see kind of Peyton Phillips locked in on the pedals here of Alex Stanfield, trying to get the best jump that he can get, starting from the outside line, and Landon Skinner right behind, sharing engine builders with Alex Stanfield here this weekend with Allison Racing Engines. And into the start box as we go. Green flag is out, and we are racing here in KA100 Senior around the outside. Phillips looks to hold on. Everybody makes it through turn number 1. Everybody makes it through turn number 2. We are officially underway here. Dunlap with a good start. Much better than Skinner, so Dunlap already up to third, and it's been a good start. Truly Adams kind of got stuck there behind one of the TB carts, it looked like, Ethan Williams. So not a TB cart, but did get stuck there behind Ethan Williams, and already Alex Stanfield and Phillips break away here just that little bit.
Yeah, and that shows the talent of Peyton Phillips. You know, to hold her on the outside on the start is extremely difficult around this track, you know, going into turn 1 there. So the fact that he could do that and still hold on to it. So good gap between the top 2. Back to Dallas Dunlap in third. Peyton Phillips is looking forward to, you know, catch the gap, you know, close the gap into Alex Stanfield right now.
Yeah, and Alex Stanfield, you know, has probably been the driver with the most laps around this racetrack so far this weekend. You see a couple of TB carts further back kind of work together to get through. Truly Adams, Clements look to go through there. Just a little late on the brakes. Kind of hand up in the air, an apology there. And he's going to lose a couple of spots there. Cohen Summers going to go through. Adams going to get back. Ian Howell looking to go on the outside. They're going to go side by side. Clements going to choose to push Summers there on the inside, looking to get through on Howell. He gets the move done there, and Nick Stouffer as well, having to work his way up the field after having some time off of karting, I should say, moving over and switching over his focus, kind of the cars in the last couple of months.
Yeah, and it's not been the weekend Cohen Summers has been looking for, you know, in the P8 position now. He's had a rough weekend, but it looks like that CRG machine is rolling now. As it goes to the inside of Truly Adams, deep send there. That was a risky move. Truly gets it back on him. Xander Clemens tries to over on his move. It's not going to work. And Xander gets it. Yeah, able to slot back in a line, kind of looks around. Ian Howell right there in that group, and they're going to go side by side all the way through. Summers kind of pops the right inside wheel up in the air, trying to jack that cart into the corner, and he's able to get it through, but Clements gets through, so a couple of spots gained there. Looks to be up at about 7. Skinner goes through on Dallas Dunlap, so Landon Skinner now back up to third, and kind of not what we're used to seeing so far this weekend up with the top 3. That gap has kind of stayed significant there at about half a second here, Aiden, and we know the draft has kind of been super critical here. It closes down again, obviously, at the back straightaway, but what are some of the keys that Peyton Phillips is going to need to kind of try and get around Alex Stanfield at this point of the race? Yeah, I mean, it's still super early in the race. You know, tire pressures are low, tires are cold, so honestly, Peyton is just looking to keep that gap, you know, in a minimal gap. As Skinner had a rough start, he's back into P3. He's closing down the gap to Peyton Phillips now, so we'll see how that works out when the top 4 get together.
Yeah, and you know, you also have to expect kind of Truly Adams as well, the lone factory kart here this weekend in the field, and you know, Jake French not here to kind of support him, a guy that even kind of brought you up a little bit, mentored you whenever you guys ran KA Senior back in the day for the PSL Burrell Art team, and now Truly Adams kind of has that mentorship from there, but obviously Jake not being here this weekend, kind of allowing Truly to take the reins on the program here this weekend, and again, that gap opens up just that little bit for Alex Stanfield. He looks to be just a little better in that second sector of the racetrack and in that infield section as well to kind of open up his gap to Peyton Phillips out.
Yeah, and Skinner's pulling away now from Dallas Dunlap. We'll see if he can close the gap into Peyton Phillips. But yeah, like you said, Alex Stanfield pulling that gap out from Peyton right now. We'll see how those tire pressures come in for Phillips later on in the race.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of laps around this place, and I know you've raced here and kind of led laps around here as well, especially last year kind of being in contention for podium finishes all year long. And, you know, this year, whenever you get here later on today, as a big contact here on the main straightaway. One driver collected here, and that's one of the CRGs there. Unfortunately, it could be, I believe that's Clark, the driver who's collected here on the main straightaway and out of this one early.
Yeah, and we lock back onto the leaders. Peyton Phillips, you know, holding that gap. Alex is doing a great job out front right now. And, you know, Skinner as well, just holding that gap. No one can really catch the leader right now. And, It's just everyone's pace is so close around this Amarillo Kart circuit.
Yeah, I mean, the point that I was trying to make earlier on, it almost seems like Stanfield is a little better in that second sector, and there's also a difference in tire pressures here as well. You can be super quick early on and then kind of fall off later on if you get too bound up or if you kind of heat up, and you see kind of Phillips there make an adjustment on the needles and kind of try and improve any sort of bit. So, I think you're the perfect guy to have up here during this race. What kind of adjustments does Peyton Phillips need to make? What kind of tire pressures would he kind of need to go out on if he wanted to be there in the end to kind of challenge Stanfield here in this one?
Well, of course, I know Peyton Phillips likes running low tire pressures. That's just how everyone is. And we saw Peyton Phillips do the carburetor adjustment. They're probably not on the same gear. That's why Alex, will pull away kind of in this infield section, and that just shows the difference of gear ratios and stuff. As Landon Skinner is now closing the gap to the top two, Peyton Phillips as well closed the gap now in the infield. He saw what Alex was doing the previous laps and figured out how to do it a little bit better.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you're saying, and you're mentioning the pace here of Landon Skinner, and he currently is the fastest driver on the racetrack at 104.422. Compared to Alex Stanfield here, 104.57 and a 104.614 for Phillips. So a tenth off, obviously having to make that adjustment on the needles last time around. So could definitely be a lot, but definitely the quickest driver is Landon Skinner. And there you have Peyton Phillips closes down so much, but just kind of, if he tries to go for a move there at the end of that straightaway, it could just, end up in a wreck for those two drivers. But in my opinion, Skinner probably has the best pace, but my question is it too early for him to have that much pace early on?
We'll just have to see. Hopefully his tires can last for the whole race. Peyton Phillips gained so much on these straights, so I think Peyton early on in the race will be more patient with Alex. I think he's just evaluating the situation, seeing where he's faster and where he's not. And that's why now Peyton Phillips on the carburetor again, getting the maximum out of that engine as possible. So we'll see how patient Phillips is with Alex now.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, because I feel like for us racing drivers, it's always kind of hard to be patient at all times during a race, because you feel like you're quicker here, you feel like you can make a move here, but you kind of want to be there for a little bit longer, because a lot of drivers have said that it's kind of hard to go into the last lap in the lead of the race. And for Alex Stanfield, he's done what Alex Stanfield does almost every single time that he gets to whatever racetrack, and every single time he races at any racetrack in the state of Texas. Because, you guys, you've grown up kind of racing all these drivers in this field, and you've grown up kind of competing against them, learning from them, and battling with them all the time. So, what are some of the strong suits that they feel like Stanfield has compared to Phillips, and vice versa as well for Phillips with Stanfield?
Yeah, for sure. Stanfield's always super consistent when he's out front. As this gap, Payne closes up and then Alex gaps him again. So it's nitpicking, here and there for Phillips, and Alex knows his track, like the back of his hand. So it's super interesting with Alex, and this is my first year racing against Landon Skinner, and he's obviously a rocket ship right now, keeping the gap to the top two. Just learning from these two veterans in the KA100 class.
Yeah, and for sure. And I feel like Xander also mentioned earlier on this year that Landon kind of has earned the respect of a lot of drivers in the field already this year with how his racecraft has been and how quick he's been. Nonetheless, a lot of rookies kind of moved up from last year, moved up this year, and they've been super quick, but he's earned a lot of respect nonetheless.
Yeah, and we just saw Peyton Phillips fade to the inside of that back straightaway. He is going to push Alex Stanfield. That's a surprise to me, because he looked back, for some help from Landon Skinner, and Landon just wasn't there in the end game.
Yeah, and that was one of the questions that I had about Landon Skinner kind of being a little bit too quick early on in this race, and could be a question of tire pressure. That time by, he was about a tenth off of Peyton Phillips, who went quickest last time by, so whatever adjustment he made there on the needles definitely seems to be working here kind of midway through this race. So 104.171 for Phillips. And everything else kind of in the field stays a little bit stagnant here. And the leader is kind of the closest battle in the field here at the moment. So nonetheless, these drivers kind of showing their pace out in front. And Phillips said that there was only really 3 contenders in this race. And they're kind of showing that's kind of true in this one here.
Yeah, exactly. And Payne keeps looking back, and I see some hand signals to Landon Skinner. He either he's just going to keep pushing him and try to get away from Skinner, but Skinner still has amazing pace. The top 2 pushing, bump drafting now, and that the fact that he can keep that gap to them is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, definitely impressive there as Phillips, that gap opens up a little bit, closes back down at the end of the straightaway, and kind of stays put here at the moment, but midway through this race already, 6 minutes to go left in this one. A lot more laps and a lot more time for Peyton Phillips to learn behind the TB card of Alex Stanfield, and for Landon Skinner as well, who just had a personal best lap time, and I was thinking he was going to fall off, and he's still right there on 104.231 for Landon Skinner, who, like I was saying earlier, has impressed a lot of us, a lot of drivers in this karting community, and a lot of his coaches even. Austin Garrison talking very highly of Landon Skinner as well, a guy that you've raced with a lot and kind of raced for the win last year. You actually are the reigning Duffy champion in this KA100 Senior class, so that obviously means a lot, and I know all these guys kind of looking for their first, and Phillips has tried many times before, came up just short. Landon came up just short last year in the KA100 Junior class, lost it to Santi Duran over in your backyard at Speed Sports Racing Park, and stayed with kind of within his first real shot here.
Yeah, and Landon Skinner found a burner that lap. He's on Peyton Phillips' back bumper. I'm curious if he's going to be patient with Phillips and see if Peyton will go now. I think now that Peyton realizes that he's on his back bumper, Peyton's not going to wait around much longer.
Yeah, and we saw it a lot, especially in the lower speed categories in 206 Cadet and a couple of others where, and with David Ibarra as well, one of your own drivers earlier on today, kind of needed that last little bit to try and get ahead of Tyler Roberts and got it from Tyrone Kemper Jr. in his race. And this time out, it seems like kind of Peyton Phillips needs that last little bit of push from Landon Skinner here. So it can be all to play for here for all three of these drivers. And the battles from the back kind of stay exciting. You see the gaps there on the left-hand side of your screen. Clement's kind of close with Truly Adams here, but the battle for the lead here. There goes Landon Skinner on the inside, able to get that move done on Peyton Phillips. So a little bit of change here. Skinner thinks he can lead this group a little better than what Peyton Phillips is doing.
Yeah, and Peyton Phillips is not going to fight that pass no matter what. He looked back and saw the 2-second gap to Dallas Dunlap in fourth. So he's going to push Landon back up to the front, and with these long straightaways, they'll be there in no time.
Yeah, and for sure, last time around a 104.037 for Landon Skinner compared to the 104.291 of Peyton Phillips, and 2/10 quicker is a lot here on a racetrack, and Skinner knows he has the pace to kind of get it done here, so they're going to switch it around, and we'll see what it looks like for Phillips this time around, and, just falling off a little bit after that pass, obviously, but Stanfield kind of staying consistent, 104.5, 104.2, 104.3, so has been pretty consistent here for Stanfield, and when it comes down to it, Skinner going to need a little bit of a draft here and a little bit of a push from Phillips to kind of get himself in contention here later on in this race.
Yeah, and Landon's kart looks super hooked up in the infield, so now on these back straights, he'll be in the draft distance of Alex Stanfield. So, they're closing the gap, looking forward, looking back. Cohen Summers, Xander Clemens, and Truly Adams fighting it for the 7th, 8th, and 9th spot right now. Yeah, so already kind of locked out, and a lot of these drivers kind of struggling with motor gremlins in this one. Clements as well, and Cohen as well, kind of having to rent motors and having to try almost 3 different motors this weekend. And Truly as well just hasn't had the speed that we're kind of used to seeing him have early on in this one. But already Truly right behind, looking to go on Cohen Summers. Truly on the inside, gets that move done. He's able to get clear. So Truly Adams up a couple of spots here. He moves up to the 7th spot. Clements back to 9th. And then Summers to 8th, so they kind of stay consistent here. Update with the lead. Peyton Phillips losing a lot of time that lap. His gap opens up a whole lot more, a 104.8 compared to the 104.4 of Landon Skinner, so yeah,
could start sounding the alarms here for Peyton Phillips, Aiden.
Yeah, and somehow Landon's still holding on to that thing. We thought the tire pressures were a little bit higher than the other two at the beginning of the race, but he is still booking it, trying to catch Alex Stanfield. The gap is staying consistent. Alex is doing a great job out front, keeping that gap at a decent gap. So do the straights, and Alex looks like he has a good piece underneath him now. Yeah, definitely. It's kind of been that way all weekend long with the amount of testing that Alex has done here at Amarillo Kart Complex. Done a lot of coaching, done a lot of laps. Did Rotax a couple of months ago where him and Theo Kakati went at it all weekend long, and Alex crossed the line in first both of those races, but after post-race penalties lost both of those races. And Kyle Uchinsky, team owner of TB Kart and track owner here of Amarillo Kart Complex, said it himself. Alex Stanfield has been almost undefeated here at Amarillo Kart Complex since as long as he can remember, and Landon Skinner kind of looking to deny that, but Phillips again half a second slower here unfortunately than Landon Skinner and Stanfield, so we were thinking about Skinner kind of falling off, and unfortunately it's been that way for the high five driver in Peyton Phillips. Yeah, and that last lap, Landon Skinner went 2/10 faster than the leader, Alex Stanfield, and you can visibly see the gap closing now, and Alex just took a look back. He realizes Landon is fast, so that'll be in the back of mind for Alex Stanfield now. Yeah, and if you've raced against 4 championships against the guy in the lead here at the moment, and you know how well he's going to defend, and you know how hard he's going to make it to kind of get around him here, so what are the keys for Landon Skinner here to try and get around? He kind of points to his head. You see Stanfield there kind of telling him to be smart here and kind of continue to push each other forward and not let Peyton Phillips get away with it like he kind of did in Crescent
while you guys were kind of battling for the lead there, Phillips just kind of over-under the entire field, and that's kind of what a driver like that does with that much pace.
Yeah, and I think now especially the gap is so big. You know, there's 1.2 seconds from the leaders to Payne Phillips. So I think in the top two's mind, they're not even worried about Payne Phillips now. You know, Skinner's going to be patient. You know, he has a lot of respect for you know, a veteran. You know, this is being his first year in the senior class, so he's going to push Alex, you know, until like the two to go flags. So and you know, Alex isn't gonna give way for the rookie.
Yeah, no, definitely, right? Being a veteran with the experience that Alex Stanfield has, kind of, you know, doing what he's doing, and keeps reminding here, Landon, pointing to his helmet, telling him to be smart, telling him to push, giving him a thumbs up as well, telling him they're doing good. And, you know, this is exactly what they want. Both of them kind of running not under the same 10, but under the same engine builder with Allison Performance Engines here this weekend. And this will mean a lot to that engine builder, kind of beating Payne Phillips on what's been super consistent for him all year long, and still adjusting on the needles there for Phillips, looking to kind of get it better. But this time around, 2 laps in the air and 2 laps to go for Alex Stanfield and Landon Skinner as they look to race into the Duffy.
Yeah, and this is the closest Landon Skinner has been to Alex Stanfield this entire race. Now, two laps to go, 6 are in the air. You know, Alex is going to be smart here. He's going to look back on the straightaway and realize that they have a huge gap. You know, he can block. He can totally defend this last 2 laps if he really needs to, but I think Landon's going to be really patient behind him.
Yeah, and at some point, you know, the rookie and I guess a veteran like Alex has to realize that a rookie as hungry as Landon Skinner has been looking for that breakout victory all year long. You know, he's going to want to go here on Alex Stanfield at some point, and Stanfield just kind of keep reminding him, you know, let's be smart, let's push forward, and let's continue to work our way further and further away from Payne Phillips and leave him without a shot to kind of contend here. That gap opens up to about 3 seconds, and here you have Stanfield. Opens up to a car length, but that toe definitely allowing Skinner to get even closer this time by. It's going to allow him within a good striking range on his back straightaway. If you ask me, I think it's all going to come down to the last lap here for these 2 drivers.
Absolutely, yeah. Alex won't have a... I don't think Alex will block in this last corner. You know, yeah, exactly. He opens up. He does his normal racing line, but now it's white flag. You know, this is where the gloves come off. You know, Landon gets into the back of them there. Landon has a ton of pace still on this last lap, so you'll see Alex defend here like crazy. And, you know, racing Alex a bunch, I know he's a great defender. It'll be a really hard challenge for Landon Skinner to get around him.
White flag in the air that time by. All to play for here for the 2 drivers in the lead, Landon Skinner and Alex Stanfield. The driver in the lead, the TB Kart, a veteran of the sport, a multiple-time Texas Sprint Racing Series champion, and a multiple-time national champion as well across all racing series. They're going to go side by side, and everybody on the fence line supporting Alex Stanfield here this weekend. You could call it a hometown race for the TB Kart team, for the Amarillo Kart Complex team, and for Landon Skinner, the rookie, who's looked to get himself on the top step of the podium. He's been oh so close many times before this year. It's a big gap back to Stanfield, who's doing a master class of defending so far. Skinner still looking to work his way around the TB Kart. Hasn't been close enough, and this is a big gap going to the back straightaway. Stanfield may have to defend here if Skinner can close down the gap just enough to get it done. I don't think he's going to have the kind of toe that he needed to kind of get it done. Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here, told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TB Kart. Skinner in second.
Yeah, and Payne Phillips right out of your top 3. You know, I feel like there had to have been something wrong with that high-five performance go-kart at the end. You know, he lost 3 seconds within the last 5 laps. So, you know, great job for the top 2, and that was a perfect race for Alex Stanfield there.
And across the line, Truly Adams, Xander Clements going side by side, looking to round up your top 5 here across the checkered flag. And it's Truly Adams taking it away in 7th. Clements across the line in 8th. Cohen Summers 9th. Ian Donnell rounds up your top 10. But how about that for the entire TB Kart team, for the entire Amarillo Kart Complex team? Alex Stanfield is a winner in 2024. It's been quite a while since he's been on that top step, but he gets it done here this weekend. And for Landon Skinner, that wait going to have to continue just a little while longer, but a good race nonetheless for the 2 Allison Performance Engine teammates. And Aiden, thank you for your insight. Thank you for joining us up here in the booth, and we'll see you on the racetrack in a couple of moments' time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
There you guys have it from Aiden Rudolph, and we'll be right back after this quick commercial break. Alex Stanfield is the Duffy winner in 2024.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental U.S.
Okay, But I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, $70?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Car Class has done the hard work for you. We've traveled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Car Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack, pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate, and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States, and Australia, you're up next. So visit carclass.com to get your track information.
USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com.
Welcome back to Amarillo Kart Complex for the 2024 edition of the IKF Grand Nationals. As always, my name is Caleb Vieska, back here in the booth with me, the one and only Rocco Ruzic, as we get set to go green for your 206 juniors. Gavin McCune, Christopher Wakefield on row number 1. Wade Borche, Chris Tracy on row 2. Perez and Ramirez, row 3. Searock and Blem on row number 4. Davis Henry and Maui Angel on row number 5. Lucas Fink, Landon Warren on row 6. And Mia Johnson and John Paul Mulcurry rounding up your field here in 206 Junior. The kid from California looks to get it done, and the kid from Florida looks to get it done as well, but this time, McCune on the gas here early. Green flag is out, and we are racing here in 206 Junior. A good start from the kid from Cali. He gets up to the lead, and Wakefield off into the dirt. Borche looking to go through as well. They're going to go 3 wide all the way down the main straightaway. They may run out of room, 4 wide almost. Wakefield around the outside, on the inside, one of the invaders able to get through. Perez, if I'm not mistaken, able to get through, so already good racing action here in 206 Junior.
Yeah, they were going about 4 wide there for a second. Everybody got through clean in that bus stop chicane. But, you know, good respectful racing between all these drivers. Your leader's kind of pulling far away now. Very good start from your leader as the rest of the field pulls by. I think that is in the back of the field. That is Melcori and others. Now, this big pack right here, they need to work together and catch up to that leader because of such a huge start that he had. You know, I mean, if they start fighting now, they will never catch back up.
Yeah, Wakefield looked to try to get the jump early, and, you know, for Gavin McCune, he was able to get it done and kind of pull away with it here. And all this fighting is kind of going to fall into the hands here of McCune, and Borche looking to go through for second. Wakefield goes through as well. Tracy kind of tripped up there over the curb, and he's going to lose some time. And again, look out for McCurry. He was the fastest driver at the end of qualifying, but after motor issues all weekend long, kind of plaguing him, have set him on the back foot and starting last in every single heat race and in the main event. There goes Tracy on the inside, looking to get through on Searock. Not close enough that time by, but Wakefield going to lead this group and this train in second. Borche in third. Then you go back to Searock in fourth, and Chris Tracy rounding up your top 5.
Yeah, Wakefield had a very decent KA Junior race, so, I mean, definitely looking a lot more racy in this 206 Senior or 206 Junior race, my mistake. So behind, followed closely by Borche, and then Searock kind of fell off from the back of Borche there, being pushed by Chris Tracy, who lost a few positions off that start, looking to perhaps go down the inside. Yes, a little bit of a correction there on the apex, but Tracy gets ahead of Searock. Now they're going to work forward and try to push up to this group right here, which is Wakefield and Borche. McCune still very far up in front and about a 2-second gap. Very fantastic start from McCune. As you see further back, they're going about 3 wide down this little short chute. I think that is Melcori making up a few positions there. Bit of a bobble, but everybody makes it out a-okay. And now that is, I think, Perez being pushed by a few others And
there you have Ava Blem going side by side there as well. So they're going to shuffle for position here. Blem able to get through. Mokuri kind of fighting with his Santa Ana Racing Company teammate and Lucas Fink. Ramirez goes to the front here. Perez kind of stuck back here. So, sorry, that's Perez. Yeah, that's Perez indeed in 7th here, kind of stuck. And McCune kind of get past here from the kid from Florida. Wakefield to the point of the field. McCune a 2nd. Borche very much there in 3rd. And the good thing here for McCune and Borche, those 2 drivers pitting together here this weekend, both from California, and Wakefield kind of the lone Floridian. And, you know, both of these, all 3 drivers in the lead pack here are from the opposite sides of the country here, Rocco. One being all the way from the East Coast, the others being from the West Coast. And McCune said earlier on in his interview this morning that he, enjoys kind of doing the shake and bake with his teammates during races, and having a teammate like Borche right there with him, and C-Rock not too far off, could definitely be beneficial here for the driver in the National Motorsports machine there in 2nd. So all to play for here from the kids from NorCal, and for the kid from Florida, who leads us away here in 206 Junior.
Yeah, you have plenty of drivers from across the country in this class. One driver that isn't in this class, but I'll mention him anyway, Truly Adams from California, very promising driver. You have a lot of drivers coming from all across the country to race here in Texas. It's fantastic to see this series grow as a whole with all these fantastic drivers coming from all over. So your top 3 pulling away now. Chris Tracy and C-Rock in that 2nd group trying to work their way forward. It is right now Wakefield, McCune, and Borche, your top 3. So as we get around this tight sector here, they're all a little bit evenly spread, about half a car length between all the drivers. It's still very early in this race. As I say every time we're in this stage of the race, it's very important that you work together and just try to establish as big of a lead as you can before you start fighting in these closing rounds.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be important for them to kind of get it done here. Only 5 minutes into this race, 10 minutes left, so a lot of racing action, a lot of laps left for all these drivers. So for McCune here, kind of looks back, make sure Borche's still right there with them, and the driver of the LN kart kind of staying with McCune here, and they're all staying right behind Wakefield. A little bit of a bobble for them, kind of dropping a tire into the grass, and now Wakefield staying up ahead. And when you talk about Christopher Wakefield, I mean, this has been probably one of the most dominant drivers in 206 junior categories across the nation. This kid has so many wins over at Cup Karts North America, and this kid's resume is as long as probably as it can be. You know, having a lot of wins like he does, and having the experience that he does, and being up at the front and kind of leading that low-key racing, Sodi Racing USA team like he has been, and leading the development of that kind of chassis has definitely played him a lot well. And like I said earlier this weekend, it's been a learning experience for Wakefield nonetheless here at Amarillo Kart Complex, learning a new chassis, a new team, new driver coaches and whatnot. And for McCune, who for him it was a learning experience on the 2-cycle side of things, here this is a class where he's familiar with, and he kind of knows how to get it done here. And for McCune, you know, noticing from our cameras here, doesn't even have a micron on his National Motorsports machine, doesn't even have a timing screen here, does it all by feel, and knows he has the pace, knows he has kind of whatever it needs to kind of stay with Wakefield. And you know, at some points coaches could argue that micron could be distracting to see how fast you're going and whatnot, but Dalton Haynes won the Miami Grand Nationals without a micron, and McCune could definitely win the IKF Grand Nationals here without one either. So doing a good job nonetheless, kind of staying behind Wakefield here. And for Borche, some sort of issue kind of putting him back, or could have been a mistake there by Borche to open up his gap just that little bit more.
Yeah, Borche needs to be careful, because if he falls off this lead pack, he might get caught by that group behind, which could push him forward if those 3 work together, if that scenario happens. But as of right now, he is losing touch with those 2 up in front, working very good together. And yeah, as you said, with Dalton Haynes in that no micron, I think his brother described it as a rust bucket back then. I think the kart that McCune has is at least a little bit more in shape as far as conditions go. But yeah, so no micron for a 206, you can get away with that. I mean, he can't see any RPMs or whatnot, but you don't really need to see that. You need to focus in on the race. How often are you actually looking down at your micron? Usually it's for a lap time in a 206, and right now that's not what is important to him. What's important is the driver up ahead.
I really think it took me almost a year to kind of get a hold of some sort of timing device. I obviously got the Alfano first, then the Micron, but it took me almost a year. Kind of, I learned half my driving doing none of that, and I'm still, not the best of drivers, so I should have probably hopped on a Micron a little bit sooner, Rocco. But, for all these drivers to do what they're doing, kind of without that, for some of us could be so helpful, and for McCune, kind of doesn't want that extra distraction, has definitely done him so well in this race and staying with Wakefield. And unfortunately here for Wade Borche, kind of losing touch a little bit with the top two, and it's kind of been a runaway so far here in this one. And the battle's further back with Steven Searock, a fellow Californian. He's further back in this field, kind of falling in the fourth spot here, right behind Chris Tracy, and they continue to push together for Shelby Ramirez. She's right behind one of the Invaders machine and Landon Warren. So Ramirez continue to push for 6th and 7th, and everybody kind of has found their dancing partner. Groups at 2 for a lot of these drivers, and not making many moves, kind of trying to catch up to the group right ahead of them. So with 6.5 minutes to go, all these drivers kind of staying stagnant and playing it very smart here.
Yeah, your leaders are doing a tango while everybody else is doing the two-step because they're pulling away right now. It's insane to see these leaders fly away like this so early in the race, especially Borche. He was in the draft, made a bit of a mistake, and now he's on his own in no man's land, possibly going to get caught by that group of Chris Tracy and Searock right there. So we'll see what happens. These two seem to be working together quite well. No changes in position as we've seen so far. We'll see what they do into this corner. I mean, it just seems to me like they're working together. And as I say that, you have Searock go down the inside of Chris Tracy, believing that they are faster than Tracy. So we'll see what they do now. It seems to be a switchback. He taps his helmet, telling Tracy to work together. So we'll see what they do. I mean, it seemed like an overtake opportunity for Searock. Didn't have to do it. Could have just pushed Tracy, but maybe Tracy is who needs to be pushing right now.
Yeah, no, for sure, and that could also be the thing. And I was just about to say, Rocco, we love to kind of be proven wrong here whenever we say guys are going to work together, no passes are going to happen, and then boom, they kind of make a pass, and make us look like I'll say it, make us look like kind of like a joke, and we feel bad. And we're like, oh man, like we don't know what we're talking about. And half the time that could be the case, but these drivers are definitely doing a good job here on the racetrack and keeping it nice and steady here. All the gaps kind of stayed consistent. Everybody kind of, like you said, found their tango partner. The 2 drivers up ahead, or I think you had it the other way around. Anyway, we're in Texas. It's going to be a Texas two-step all the way along. With that being said, your Texas two-step out in the front with Wakefield and McCune kind of staying stagnant. The battle here with Searock and Tracy staying stagnant as well. Borche kind of on his own, getting chased down by the 2 drivers here on your screen, kind of looking for a podium. And then further back with Landon Warren and Shelby Ramirez, the Invader and the TB Kart here, kind of working together here as well. Not many passes here for Ramirez, and I was just about to say if Shelby would have gone on the inside and made a move there, then I would have definitely kind of muted our mics and not said anything for the rest of the race here, Rocco. But yeah, Ramirez still kind of pushing Warren here along and further back as well. A lot of the same with Henry and Ava Blem. Mulcurry not too far off them. Lucas Fink in that group as well. Maui Angel further back. Mia Johnson in 14th, and Cooper Perez, who had a lot of pace early on in this one, found himself kind of with issues as well. So unfortunate there for Cooper Perez nonetheless to find himself out of contention here in this one after having a really strong year, ending on the podium last year at the IKF Grand Nationals at Speed Sports Racing Park. So it's not meant to be this year in 2024 for Cooper Perez, unfortunately, for the Cole Nelson Racing driver, and for all these drivers still lapping around here in 206 Junior.
Update on the lead. Your drivers are still 1 and 2 here. McCune lost the lead to Wakefield there, I believe, and Borche is being gapped right now. Every lap he loses about 0.7 seconds to these 2 leaders right here. Tracy and Searock also falling back. It doesn't seem that they're catching on Borche at a very alarming rate, so he seems to be comfortable right here with a with a 4-second gap up in front and a 3-second gap behind him. So he's driving his own race right now. As you can see, the 2 leaders go by and working in unison right now. They're just pulling away, doing everything they need to do to keep this race alive for their
The 1-minute warning up in the air, and rightfully so. McCune on the inside there of Christopher Wakefield. McCune goes to the point of the field. Wakefield looking to get him back here. This time when they cross the stripe, we're going to get 2 sticks in the air. 5 seconds left. We're just about to run out of time here, Rocco.
Yeah, 2 sticks to go when they round this final corner on this lap. And you see Wakefield go to the inside trying to get McCune. They're going to be side by side. A little bit of a hip check there to get back into the lead for McCune. And a little bit of a gap now between these 2 drivers. After that little bobble coming out of last corner, Wakefield has a lot of progress to make in 2 laps. I think the draft will help him with that quite a lot and help him get back up to that lead driver.
Yeah, and I don't think Wakefield was really close enough to kind of, complete that move. It was, in my opinion, could have been a low percentage move even, but super close nonetheless to kind of get that done, and McCune blocked it off quite nicely. But Wakefield, again, the draft, so important here in this 206 junior class, and you see how much Wakefield kind of closes up and across all these straightaways here. And you talked about yesterday, Rocco, whenever you were kind of getting instructed on how to drive a Spec Miata, the most important corner on a racetrack is the one that leads to a straightaway, and about every single corner on this racetrack leads to a straightaway.
Of course, yeah. And I mean, not only Spec Miata, but at any form of racing, if you mess up your exit on a corner that leads to such a momentum-based part of the track, you're really going to get swallowed up. And right now, as you can see, Wakefield with a huge run. He looks over his shoulder in the wrong way. Now Wakefield is on his outside for this upcoming corner. I mean, there's a bit of a kink to the right, but we'll see who comes out on top into this final corner. 1 more lap to go after this. And McCune decides to back out of it last second and let Wakefield take the lead. So there's 1 more lap. When they come around, we'll see who wins, either Wakefield or McCune. McCune let him by there maybe to try and get a run on him on one of these straights. We'll see what happens. And Wakefield is most likely going to go defensive 100% the rest of this lap.
McCune let Wakefield by that time by, and I'm sure he's not going to do it 2 times in a row. So here goes McCune looking to get Wakefield back, and it's not going to be Texas this weekend in the IKF Grand Nationals for 206 Junior. It's either going to be California or Florida. Christopher Wakefield and Gavin McCune around the outside looking to get that move done, set up an over-under here. We've seen that happen and be completed so far. They're going to go side by side here once again into the quad apex. What does Gavin McCune have for Christopher Wakefield here? McCune staying in the draft as they near the back straightaway. McCune, a good passing zone here, but when is he going to decide to go? Wakefield still defending. McCune moves to the bottom to crowd him, opens up a little bit, has the outside, gets it, was close to getting it done, goes through the grass, and Wakefield, that's going to give him the gap that he ultimately needs to run away with it here. McCune, it could have been picture perfect for the kid from NorCal, but for the kid from Florida, he's going to get it done here in 206 Junior. New chassis, new team here this weekend, and has been so dominant in his junior career, and what a way to end it off. Christopher Wakefield wins the Duffy in 2024.
Good race between those two drivers. McCune finishes up second. Borche in fourth place. A photo finish across the line for fourth. Or third place for Borche, my bad. Chris Tracy in fourth. Searock in fifth. Warren coming across the line, I believe, in sixth. And then it'll be Shelby Ramirez, Blem, Henry, Mulcory, Angel, Fink, and Perez rounding off your 13 drivers.
Yeah, Mia Johnson, the other driver, not able to close this one out, unfortunately, but what a race did we just have. Congratulations to Christopher Wakefield, the entire Low-Key Sody Racing USA team here supporting him this weekend, and the entire GFC Trackside Karting Services team as well, putting this together for Wakefield. And the Duffy's going back to Florida here this weekend. When we come back, more racing action coming our way. KA Masters and the marquee class of the weekend, 206 Senior, coming up next, live on Kart Chaser.
Maryland USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com.
So you finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're going to need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com. They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rib protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next? Well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Car Class has done the hard work for you. We've travelled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Car Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack. Pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate, and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States, and Australia, you're up next. So visit carclass.com to get your track information.
KA100 Masters on the racetrack now, and Randy Rogers, the driver that's going to lead us in Randy Rogers, the driver, is going to lead us out onto the racetrack here for the KA100 Masters class on pole position. Jose Eduardo de la Garza Elizondo on row number 1. Daniel Howie on row 2 alongside Neil Faulkner. Slade Miller and Will Combs round up your field here.
And as our drivers get lined up for the green flag, it's only 5 drivers in this event, but hopefully they can deliver some good racing. Neil Faulkner with I think a few changes to his go-kart yesterday, so we'll see how he does. He was on the front row for the heats going into the heats yesterday, and we'll see what he can do now. But as they get the green flag, it is a good start from the inside line. They seem to shuffle through, and not too many drivers, so the outside line doesn't get too bad of a punishment for being on the outside. Neil Faulkner loses a position, and now your drivers all single file going through the chicane.
Everybody single file here. Daniel Howie right behind Randy Rogers, and he's closing down his gap here, and this is probably the best shot that Daniel Howie's kind of had. And a cool story here for Howie, who, they make contact, almost goes up and over Randy Rogers. Goodness gracious, drifts through the dirt, and oh my, Rogers almost went up and over, and that was a scary incident there, but he gets back on it, and a lot of work for him to do to kind of close down his gap. And out of nowhere, Slade Miller in the CRG to the point of the field.
Yeah, this race just got very interesting with that. Now your fastest driver in the back of the field, he's going to have to cut through everybody to get back up to get that win. He's not too far back. It's not like he got spun around, so he didn't lose too much time. He's checking his go-kart, wondering if it's okay. I mean, hopefully his kart is okay, and he got away with that incident just fine. He almost went over. It was almost a huge accident, but thankfully Rogers is all right.
Looking and I'll tell you, kind of keep it straight up with you here, Rocco, as Howie there on the rear bumper of Miller kind of gets all out of shape there. Howie apologizes, but they're all going to go 4 wide here, almost on the main straightaway. They're going to go side by side, Miller to the bottom. Howie trying to set up the over-under here from Miller. There goes Howie on the outside, sets up that over-under quite nicely. Miller going to probably have to concede here, so it's back in a line. But Rocco, I mean, after the race ended yesterday in KA100 Masters, we definitely weren't expecting it to shake up this much. We weren't expecting it to be as interesting as it's gotten now, and it's blown a hole through our entire predictions here, Rocco, and it's anybody's game at this point.
Yeah, it was very thinly spread out yesterday, as you see a move down the inside for Elizondo on Miller, I believe. But yeah, yesterday you had a very spread out field, and now everybody's very closely tight. You have Howie kind of pulling away after that little battle between Elizondo and Miller. Faulkner following them very closely behind, and so you can already see the difference between laps. Now you have Rogers very close. Or not very close, but closing very rapidly to this group of 3 right here. Howie with a little bit of an advantage up ahead. And going into this final corner is Elizondo in P2 with Miller following close behind.
Yeah, Miller definitely not too far back from Elizondo here, and he's going to try and close down his gap as everybody kind of telling their driver to kind of push forward and get closer and closer to the driver ahead, as there's Faulkner all over the rear bumper here of Slade Miller. So Miller within a good shot for a podium here. And they're continuing to close down his gap. Faulkner looking not close enough. And for Randy Rogers, an update. He's lapping a little quicker than the drivers ahead of him, but one thing's to catch up and another thing's kind of to make the moves here in KA Masters.
Yeah, a bit of lore for the Faulkners. I've been racing against Jake for I haven't been racing with him consistently, but I raced with him in the past, and I always thought him and his dad had the same helmets, but I learned the other day that those white lines on the sides of their helmets, Neil has a N on the side of his helmet, while Jake, of course, has the J on the side of his helmet, and I always thought it was the same. So just to know that and that little bit of extra context clues on those helmets really opened it up for me, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. And you know, as interesting as helmets are for us and as much as we love them, I'm sure Neil likes his helmet as well, but probably more focused on kind of getting the podium here in this one. But that's actually, you know, that's very observative of
a Faulkner fun fact.
Observative, is that a word?
A Faulkner fact.
Faulkner fact of the day. Jake Faulkner actually worked for us a couple of times, so that's pretty cool. And Neil Faulkner, I guess, guilty by association, so we'll claim him as one of our own as well. But anyway, Neil Faulkner here lapping around, looking to get a lot closer to Slade Miller here at the moment, getting close to that rear bumper, the CRG Nordum driver and Miller. And For Slade Miller, an interesting story for him. Kind of getting back into karting. His family kind of involved in racing, and earlier this year kind of moved to Houston and looked to go back and get back to his roots and give a phone call to you and Jeffrey over at CRG Nordham. And Jeffrey kind of set up that for Slade Miller to get back in the seat, and one of Aiden's kind of old, a couple of race old go-karts there that Miller's on. So got into it and back into it and fell in love ever since. And this is actually his first race back in the karting seat. Hasn't done a club race before this, and kind of hopped right back into it at a national event here this weekend. So doing a good job of it nonetheless here, being in a podium place and even leading laps here in this main event for Miller.
Yeah, especially when you haven't been in a race for a long time. The physicality of KA100 is quite a lot. It may not seem like it because, people who are outside of the sport would maybe think that it's not as physical, but this is a very, very physical class. Last time I did a KA100 race, it was a one-off, and I hadn't been in the seat for a very long time, and my neck gave out by the end of the weekend, so it's a bit embarrassing to admit.
I remember that.
Yeah, a bit embarrassing to admit. I had a donut neck protector to try to keep my head up, like when I was undersized. But it is it's definitely impressive to see somebody who hasn't been in the sport for a little second, and to be in P3 running really nicely right now. It is very impressive.
And I tell you what, Daniel Howie, another driver who's kind of been out of the sport for quite some time and finding himself back into it here this weekend. His first race back after a while. Howie kind of raced since he was 11 all the way till he was 21. And the driver in your lead here, this is his first race back after kind of getting together with Kajuchinski over in San Antonio. Kajuchinski obviously living over there. And at Hill Country one day, Howie just kind of got right back into it and got dragged back into the sport that he loves so much. And being in the lead of this race, I'm sure Uchinsky and all the TB car team are happy to see another one of their KA100 machines out in front.
An update on Rogers. He just got around Neil Faulkner and now has been about to make another position as Miller closes the door on him, but a very fast driver indeed is Rogers. He fell way back at the start. We saw what happened between him and Howie, and right now he's about to make a move on Miller to the inside. Thinks better of it again. It's he's being held up a little bit by Miller, but it's no fault of Miller's. He wants to keep that third place position. He's gonna make Rogers work for it, as he goes down the inside of Miller now, trying it for the third time. Still can't get around Miller. They make a bit of contact side by side through this final corner. It gives him enough room over the curb, and now Neil Faulkner's back in the fight for P3, and Rogers seems to be set free on these leaders.
Very, and I'll say it here, Rocco, I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me say this, but very argy-bargy through that corner there, and Rogers was able to get that move done, and there goes Faulkner looking to go through on Miller as well. Not close enough, but all right for Rogers after kind of being up in the middle of the air earlier today. Finds himself back in a podium place here. Considering the fact that Rogers was kind of mid-air throughout this race, and now he's back in contention for a podium finish, is, definitely everything that he needs here in this race, and the confidence that he needs to kind of close down the gap to Elizondo and Howie here. So we'll look at the gaps here in just a couple of moments for what it kind of looks like for all these drivers. Elizondo running a 106.6, for Howie a 106.4. For Rogers, obviously having to make the move last time around, finds himself kind of going a little slower than Howie. A 106.7 that time by, but, could very well be within contention to close down a gap here. As there you see Howie kind of going through, and Elizondo goes through as well as Faulkner goes sideways there throughout that corner and almost goes around.
Yeah, reverse entry into that corner is pretty spectacular. He was able to hold on to it. Unfortunate that now he has a huge gap between him and Miller in last place. It's not where he wants to be, but we'll see if he can catch back up to Miller now. Rogers working on that second place driver of Elizondo. He fell way back as we saw earlier, but he's still making a steady pace. He's about 2.7 seconds behind your leader of Howie right now, so we'll see what that time looks like when they come back around. He's by himself right now with no draft, so he really will have to wheel this card up to those front two with no extra help. You see Howie running a great race. He's even pulled a gap on Elizondo now. Very different race to what we've seen. That little mix-up we had earlier in the race definitely made this much more interesting. And as you see, everybody's giving hand signals off the side, telling people what to do, but I think these Masters know exactly what they're going to do because they've been doing it for so long.
Hey, they're called Masters for a reason. You know, they're masters at their craft, and definitely in racing as well. Done a good job so far, and I really think what all the TB car team is kind of worried about is Randy Rogers being within a shot to kind of get up there to the rear bumper of Daniel Howie, who is in the lead of this race. So could be a lot here for Rogers to kind of make up, but if anybody has the pace, it's a driver who's been so consistent all weekend long, and in Rogers. So could it be anything here for Rogers to kind of get up there, and for Howie, like I said, kind of getting back into the seat here this weekend and getting back into the racing scene for the past year has definitely showed that he hasn't missed a beat here, hasn't skipped a beat either, showing that he still has pace and still has that same pace he had back in the day.
Yeah, you have Rogers lapping almost 2 tenths quicker than your leader. It was about a 2.7 second gap. Now it's about a 2.5. So again, they're coming around to see the times update. He has 5 minutes plus 2 laps to go. So if he eats at that about 2 tenths of a second, it may be cutting it close to getting to the leader. So he needs to really push right now and make sure that he has enough tires though for the end of the race when he starts fighting. You see him going into turn 1, a bit of a tail slide out, so he's definitely charging really hard right now. Hopefully he can conserve the temperature in those tires. He doesn't want them to get too hot and start sliding around. He seems to be he only made about less than a tenth of a second that time by, so the progression is very slow right now for Rogers. He seems to kind of hit a bit of a wall in the middle of this race, so if anything happens between your top two, you'll see him catch back up, but right now it's a bit of a tall order for Rogers. Yeah, so for P4, there's Miller and Faulkner. And this is probably the closest race we have on track right now. You had Howie flying away, kind of establishing a huge lead there. Very impressive by him. So Faulkner with a bit of a bad run out of that corner. Miller gets a bit of an advantage coming down into this long straightaway. It's a straightaway where you can use the advantage of draft a lot if you have a good exit. But if you make a mistake, you can still sometimes get pulled back up to the front. Like as you see now, it's a much smaller gap to what it was whenever they left that corner just because of the draft. So we'll see if Neil can salvage a P4 finish or not. Only time will tell, Caleb.
Yeah, most definitely. Only time will tell here from this point on if Neil Faulkner can salvage a top 4 finish in this one. And it's been kind of super close for Neil Faulkner all weekend long. Has had some issues of his own and kind of dealing with that. But for the drivers up in the lead, they're going to get 3 laps to go. It seems like this time by when they cross the stripe. And Howie's been so consistent all race long, as well as Elizondo and Randy Rogers. After going kind of airborne in that first race, has put him on the back foot, and he hasn't really had the time or had the pace to kind of get back there and challenge Elizondo or challenge Howie. And even for Elizondo, has been close enough to Howie and closes down just a little bit on this back straightaway, but Howie's just so strong on the infield section. But that mistake not going to help him out at all. And you see Kyle Uchinsky, Alex Stanfield all telling him to push forward, keep his head in it, and kind of, keep his foot on it as well to stop making the mistakes and hit his marks as well as he needs to, because this race is pretty much over. And then the next time they cross the stripe, if Howie can just continue to hit his marks as it progresses on.
Yeah, you saw Howie cook it into turn 1 with a bit of a slide, so he's pushing really hard right now. This is exactly where Elizondo wants to be at this stage of the race. You see Rogers, he's making a lot of time in the last 2 laps. He put a whole second on your leaders, and now he's only a 2-second gap between him and these 2 guys up in front. So if they start fighting, you'll definitely see Rogers within contention for this win. But as of right now, Elizondo is flying towards the back of Rogers. No, it's not of Rogers, of Howie, and is exactly where he wants to be, Caleb.
This is exactly where Elizondo kind of wants to be, wants to put that pressure on Howie, wants Howie to feel the pressure, wants Howie to kind of force a mistake here, wants to force a mistake out of Howie in his TB kart machine. And, for Elizondo, exactly what he needs. He's doing it perfectly here, but going to need a lot more than that if he wants to force a big one out of Howie here. But 2-6 in the air this time by, and officially crunch time here for Howie and company to kind of try and get ahead here, or try and deny that TB kart from a second Duffy win here at the IKF Grand Nationals in 2024.
Elizondo very close now, definitely using advantage of that draft. So we'll see what he does. There's about 3 overtaking opportunities on this track of this point until we come back across the line again. So they get the white flag next time by. As of right now, Elizondo has been waiting for this moment the whole race. He's been conserving those tires, I believe, as you see Howie up in front making mistakes. Not huge mistakes, but just slight ones like cooking his tires and driving very hard. So if Elizondo has anything left in the tank or anything in the cards that he can deal now to Howie, it would be very important for that. Rogers made about 2/10 last time by, or 3/10 by on these leaders. You can see him, he's very close. So if they start battling really hard, but I don't think they will, because, or not as of yet, because Howie has a bit of a gap. So there's not much time being lost up to the front. If there's any chance for Rogers to catch these 2 as we take the white flag now, it will have to result of a huge battle between these top 2.
White flag in the air this time by for Howie, and this is exactly what he needs to do. He needs to play his cards perfectly, and he needs to kind of get it done here to keep Elizondo at bay. But Howie's just been super strong in the second sector. Rogers as well has had a good pace to kind of close down this gap just that little bit more to a 1.5 seconds. And this is the closest Elizondo's been almost all race long. Closes down again to Howie, who's kind of just caught up, kind of looking behind his shoulder, looking where Elizondo is, and just really needs to set these corners up perfectly to get away like he has been across the back straightaway. It opens up here just that little bit to a car length and a half, and it should open up just that little bit more here, as it seems like Howie just has that little bit more top end than Elizondo. But it's going to be a race all the way to the finish line here. Howie and Elizondo going to fight it out for the Duffy here in KA100 Masters. It's all going to be to play for here. The TB kart team against the High Five team already. 1-0 for TB kart. Not going to be close enough for Elizondo. Howie is down, makes a mistake, drops a tire into the dirt. Elizondo on the inside, gets it done in KA100 Master. It's not over till it's over. Elizondo gets it done.
Yeah, you saw Howie jack up in the entry of that corner and go a little wide. Very unfortunate. Elizondo gets away with that win. Perfect positioning for Elizondo. Rogers, a close third. He almost made it back up to that group if they could have just battled a little bit more. Neil Faulkner makes the position on Slade to get 4th place, and Slade Miller rounds up your top 5.
What a race there, and unfortunate for Daniel Howie. Heartbreak in the end, and heartbreak for the entire TB kart team, and that could easily be changed here, as in a couple of moments' time, your 206 seniors get set to get fired up and get set to go. It's been all about Aiden Rudolph so far this weekend, but A lot of hungry drivers, 30 drivers total in this 206 class. Fight it out for a Duffy in 2024. We'll be right back after our last commercial break.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
It's time to go racing in 206 Senior, the final time in 2024 for the IKF Grand Nationals. It's Aiden Rudolph and Josie Chambers on row number 1. Matthew Winfrey and Reagan Seville on row 2.
And then Alex Stanfield and Kelvin Zing on row 3. Then it'll be Fandry and Oliver on row 4. Harrell and Adams on row 5. Then we'll have Bryce Frank and Joseph Huet in row 6.
You have Fitz and Skinner on row number 7, Rafael Kraus and Razadagic on 8, Weaver and Jensen on 9, Willinder and Braden on row number 10, and you move down to the last 5 rows in this class. A couple of drivers having to work their way up the field here in this one. But with all that being said, time to go racing here. Aiden Rudolph, Josie Chambers, those drivers have worked picture perfectly together. Winfrey looking to deny Rudolph from a picture perfect weekend here in 206 Senior, but we're going to get on the gas here early and get this one underway for the final time in 2024 IKF Grand Nationals. We're green and we're racing in 206 Senior. That inside line, as expected, a good run. A lot of drivers already bumper to bumper. Chambers into the dirt. A couple of drivers around there in the back. One of the Kart Republics goes around, and it looks like one of the TB karts and one of the Intrepids went around there towards the back of the field already. 2 wide. Zing and Frank all the way through this field. Chuck Jensen, your winner already earlier on today. Side by side there for a second, but already up in front. Aiden Rudolph and Matthew Winfrey break away.
Yeah, good start from Winfrey and Rudolph. They have a little bit of a gap between Stanfield and Chambers in 3rd and 4th. Then you have Fandry, Reagan Seville, and then Harrell. I mean, a bunch of fast drivers. Oh, as you have a little bit of contact, that is the Kart Republic.
Like Willinder there, unfortunately, into the dirt. So not the start that Willinder would have wanted there, Rocco.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of a hand gesture. He was definitely not happy with that move. I don't know who would be happy with that move, but now as you look at your leaders, they still have that bit of a gap. You're going to see these 3, though, Stanfield, Chambers, and Fandry, 3, sorry, I can't count. Very fast drivers. They're going to catch up to these 2 up ahead.
Yeah, and imagine that. One more driver. They're off the racetrack. Further back in the distance, Kelvin Zing drops the tire. Looked like it was Truly Adams, the driver that went through the dirt and kind of sent Zing to the wayside, but Jacob Oliver going to go through on them. And you know, to think that Alex Stanfield was kind of in the dirt and, almost there, it seemed like cutting the grass there at the start of that 3rd heat race at the end of the day yesterday in heat race number 3. To see him up in 3rd now is a much better start to his main event and kind of getting himself back into contention to win a Duffy for the 2nd time here today, and Rudolph to go back-to-back in 2024. Won one last year at his home race and fell short to McKeithen and fell short to Zing as well. So he's able to get it done and maybe sweep the trophies here in the Screaming Eagle and the Duffy. And Jerry Fandry as well, the kid from the Midwest, getting himself inside of the top 5 with issues early on in the day. And there goes Stanfield, not wanting to wait for too long on Winfrey. They go side by side there for a second, the Invader and the TB kart. Stanfield's going to have to concede.
Yeah, I saw Chambers. I thought he would probably follow Winfrey through to get that third place position, but he chooses to work with Stanfield. Those three drivers are probably going to all work together, try to get around Winfrey. You see Jerry try to swing wide to get a better run, and now our 4 drivers behind Rudolph. Rudolph has a huge gap now, and then it is Stanfield, Chambers, Winfrey, and then Fandry. You see Fandry point forward there, so Fandry's really eager to work together with these drivers as you have Reagan Seville pull up with Harrell in tow. So it is becoming to form a huge pack here. As we saw, or as we said earlier this morning, a longer race will give them a lot more of a chance to file in order and start working together and have a huge pack for this lead here. And as you see, Bryce Frank by himself, another driver who is far back right now, we might see up in the fight for the win very shortly, is Kelvin Jing. He's a driver who likes to sit back and wait and let the chaos happen in the first 3/4 of the race, and then by the last closing events of this race, you'll see Kelvin back now. All these drivers still running single file right now. This is the stage of the race where everybody needs to put their head down and work together and pull away as you have. I think that is Weaver. That might be Jay Weaver out of this race. He pulls off of the track, and that is it for Jay.
Unfortunately there for the 690 off the racetrack there, and he's going to be out of this one early, so unfortunate there for Weaver, but a change for the lead. Alex Stanfield looking to go through. Winfrey looked to go through on Chambers as well. Wasn't able to get it done, and they made a little bit of contact, but Alex Stanfield leads us away here. Jensen Harrell at the tail end of that group. Rudolph not wanting to waste any time. Josie Chambers looking to go through, and he could get steamrolled here. Stanfield stuck on the outside. Winfrey gets through. Stanfield there still stuck on the outside. Seville kind of being patient here. Jensen Harrell as well. A career best kind of placement here for the Kart Republic driver, who's inside of the top 5 and just outside, just outside of the top 5 and well inside of the top 10, but all that little bit of fighting allowed Bryce Frank to close down his gap.
Yeah, Bryce Frank, a good driver to work with Kelvin Zing. If they can hook up together, they'll definitely start to cut their way through this pack. I mean, it is every driver in this pack right now is one of a lot of pedigree. You have Reagan in P5. He is a veteran of this class, and then you have Alex Stanfield, who we normally see in the 2-stroke classes, but both him and Rudolph this week and decided to run the 4-strokes as well. I mean, Rudolph, I asked him why he wasn't running K, and he said he'd rather just work on one go-kart, and I mean, it was a go-kart that he worked on very well. As you can see him in the lead right now. Further back, there's a battle right there now. It's Rudolph, Chambers, Winfrey, Stanfield, Seville, Fandry, Harrell, and then Bryce Frank rounds off that lead pack right there.
Yeah, and as well, Kelvin Zing and others not too far behind with Truly Adams kind of in tow. They've kind of set their differences aside and started to push each other forward to try and close down their gap. But, I mean, I think you said it best, Rocco, right? Rudolph kind of wanted to focus on one class, wants to kind of improve the 4-stroke chassis for the CRG team here this weekend, and has done a good job so far as well. This class kind of being the marquee class here this weekend with 30 drivers total, and a lot of drivers, inside of the top 15, well within a shot to win, but it's kind of deja vu from yesterday. Young Josie Chambers, the 14-year-old in second place here, pushing Aiden Rudolph along, and he's gained a lot of respect also from a lot of drivers. We talk about Skinner and KA Senior, and whenever you think about this class, you talk a lot about Josie Chambers and how young he is, and in this rookie kind of gaining a lot of respect from a lot of drivers and a lot of teams around here in his intrepid machine after, wanted to go on the Burrell this weekend. Didn't work out kind of to his, didn't suit his driving style all the best, and wanted to go back on that intrepid on something that he was comfortable with. And Stuart Robinson kind of put that together for them earlier on this year, and having that chassis. And there goes Stanfield. Didn't want to waste time behind Winfrey. Had to get right back in a line and the slot back and forth. And Seville as well. They look kind of desperate to want to go, and I think Stanfield feels like they're losing time behind the Invader here.
Yeah, you see Jerry's quite frustrated. He's pointing frantically forward because they need to catch up to that group right now. Let's see if Harrell decides to try and overtake. I think those three have the memo now to work together and try to catch up to Reagan, Stanfield, and Winfrey. So, you said about Chambers. He was on the Burrell earlier, and now he's back on the Intrepid. That's the same type of manufacturer kart that he ran back at CKNA at Summer Nats. Or not Summer Nats, but okay, yeah, I think I was correct. So, he's sticking to what he knows, and I mean, to what he knows is very fast and very competitive as he's running away right now with Aiden Rudolph in the lead. These three right here are working together as best they can to try and catch. There's a big thumbs up, and he's tapping his helmet again. I thought he was clapping for a second, but I think that was just a helmet tap right there.
Fandry is happy with the work that they're doing here. So Jensen Harrell there, second in that train. Frank at the end of it, and continues to kind of emphasize them and kind of negotiate. It's like, hey man, we're getting closer. Let's keep doing what we're doing and kind of try and get up here. So those drivers that are currently 6th on back are looking to kind of close down their gap. But Rocco, I mean, I have to mention here, the gap in between Chambers and Winfrey hasn't really closed down. And if anything, hasn't closed down at all. So if I'm Alex Stanfield, I'd kind of look to either try and make a move here on the Invader, and you see the gap there perfectly. It isn't closing down on this back straightaway, and Stanfield knows it, and he wants to go here for the 3rd spot, but just needs that last little bit of push from Reagan Seville from behind.
Yeah, you saw him fade low for a second, but decided to think better of it because right now it's very important that they don't waste any time. Winfrey gains a 10th on your leaders there. He was about 8 tenths back. Now they're 7 tenths back, so they're still making progress. 7 minutes left to go. If they keep up this pace, they'll definitely catch up to your leader, so there's no real point to fight right now at this pace. And Alex Stanfield kind of understands that. He doesn't get the push from Reagan this time by, but if he does next time down that back straight, you might see a move. It won't be one that slows him down too much, but just a shuffle for position, see who can lead better, and maybe they'll be faster with a change in order.
Yeah, I'll tell you what here, Rocco. Sawyer Chambers, Josie Chambers has the fastest lap of the race here, a 1:12.827, and you see it there kind of populate on the left-hand side of your screen. And he's, keeping well with Aiden Rudolph, and that gap further back, is kind of opening up here because Winfrey and company are going a couple of 100ths of seconds slower than Chambers, and over a couple of laps, that gap starts to open up bit by bit by bit, and that's why Stanfield is kind of wanting to make that move on Winfrey at this stage of the race. You're kind of getting to the halfway point. You're starting to know if your equipment is kind of going to be there in the end, and if it's not going to be there, then you don't want to fight it out too much with whoever, and you want to have the best position in the end that you can. But Stanfield kind of just struggling to get ahead of that Invader machine at this point in the race.
Yeah, Winfrey might be geared a little bit longer, which means he might be the one that needs to be pushed right now. Because you had Reagan pushing on Stanfield. Stanfield still couldn't make that position. We didn't have him on screen, so I don't even know if there was an attempt for a pass, but it seemed that there might have been because you see Alex fading low every now and then in the braking zones, still sitting behind Winfrey ever so patiently. They're still 7 tenths behind these leaders, so they have made no progress in the final in the previous lap. The group behind as well, still about the same gap we've seen from the start of these packs forming. So your 2 leaders out in front, even though it's only 2 karts, they seem to be working together in a fantastic fashion.
Yeah, and you see all the kind of negotiations going on back here, too, in between Fandry, Frank, and others. And there goes Stanfield again, kind of fading low, looking to get through. A little bit of hop in his TB kart machine. And that, change for the lead in that group kind of changes finally. And Stanfield goes up to 3rd and points forward, the same as everybody else. Kind of gives you enough time to tell the driver behind you, like, hey, man, let's push forward. Let's try it this way. You led for a couple of laps. I let you lead. I didn't really try anything, but now let me lead. Let's see if we can really close down our gap, and let's see if we can kind of get up there as this race progresses. For Reagan Seville, he kind of struggled with kart issues so far this weekend, and with that move even being made, his gap opened up to about a car length here, Rocco. So it could be, a lot of things for Seville, who's just probably not comfortable with whatever he has, in him. So be whatever. And there's Fandry and Frank as well. So wanting to work together, wanting to push each other forward. So, these 2 guys roomed together even last week whenever we were out working at Newcastle Motorsports Park, and they kind of came up with a plan, and this is a lot like it. They roomed together and spent a lot of time together, and that's exactly what they needed to work together here in this main event.
Yeah, when Stanfield made that move on Winfrey there, they lost about 3 tenths of a second to your leaders, but now that there's a new form in that group ahead, as you can even see on the screen, I think that is... Reagan is falling back. When we spoke to him yesterday, he said that he has pace. They have Truly Adams, my mistake, going around Harrell there. Oh, bit of contact. Kelvin Zing makes contact with Harrell. And they're going to try and push themselves past Harrell now. That is Jacob Oliver bursting onto the scene in his GFC. Truly Adams, Zing, and Oliver. 3 very fast drivers. They need to work together to try and catch up to this lead group. But back to Reagan Seville. He spoke about his setup earlier. He said that he's comfortable to run with the lead pack, but he doesn't know if he has the pace to fight for the win. Yeah, this race is definitely starting to close down. You see Seville really slow way down and not even close to Winfrey and Stanfield anymore at this point. So that's, on one side of things for that GFC team. And on the other side for the Trackside Karting Services GFCs, Jacob Oliver has the fastest lap of the race, a 1:12.583 for the sophomore in this 206 senior class. And at this point, if you're kind of not making up time, then it's going to be really hard to kind of close down your gap to the CRG Norton of Aiden Rudolph and the Intrepid machine of Josie Chambers. So we'll see how this race continues to play out. That gap, personal best lap time last time by for Stanfield, so 2 tenths quicker for the TB kart. And
for Rudolph and Chambers, they were about 2/10 slower than the lap times that Winfrey and Stanfield put. So switching positions is definitely shown to be beneficial so far, Rocco.
Yeah, if we have a flashback to Heat 3, it was Rudolph and Chambers pushing together just like how they are now, but a big difference between the Heat 3 and the main event is that Chambers is going to want that win very bad. So by the time we get to the 2 sticks to go, they're going to start fighting, and you will see these other packs of drivers start to catch up. And visually, I believe that Stanfield is getting closer. We'll see as the time runs by. They have actually lost a few hundredths of a second. Nothing too crazy. They're just sitting, and they're in a perfect spot right now. If these two leaders start fighting, they will catch up in no time.
Yeah, about 5 laps to go left in this main event, just under 2.5 minutes to go. And like you said, Stanfield very lapping really well. That time they couldn't really make a dent on the gap on Josie Chambers and Aiden Rudolph. They ran identical lap times, and when that happens, you're not gaining any time because the drivers ahead of you are doing the same lap time as you. So for that TB card, it could almost be running out of time. What he needs at this point, what he really, really needs is Rudolph and Chambers kind of to start fighting at this point, or to fight with 2 laps, and for Winfrey to kind of stay patient with them and to continue to push to try and get up there towards the end of this race. But nonetheless, we've seen Josie and Rudolph work really well together so far this weekend. They've worked together well in heat race number 1 and heat race number 3 as well. So, expect Chambers to kind of push Aiden Rudolph here in this one. And Seville kind of got caught up there by Fandry, and they're also happy to push each other along. But I think Truly Adams and company have a little bit more pace than Frank, Fandry, and Seville, all of them kind of in the 113s, and Truly Adams and Zing and Oliver all in the 112.8. So that could be something to look out for here as well. A battle kind of to round up your top 10 as this race continuing to dwindle down. 1:17 left, about 3 laps to go when they cross the stripe next time by.
Yeah, they lost another about half a tenth on your leaders that time by. So the gap between first, second, third, and fourth has been about stagnant last time by. We're coming close to the end of the race. They have about 1 minute left, plus 2 laps to go. Our final race of the weekend. When these two start fighting up in front, it's going to really kick off with the real racing of this race, because you haven't seen much from the leaders. They've been working together this whole time. Same with that group, about a form of 6 go-karts behind. If they can work together and not slow each other down, even they could be in a shot for this win.
Yeah, no, it's definitely anybody's game at this point, and you see everybody kind of there in the distance, pushing together, still kind of wanting to work together here. So that's kind of what it's going to be like here. You just got to be patient, got to work with whoever you're with, and you kind of mentioned a lot dancing partners, right? You need a 2-step partner in this race, and everybody's kind of found their own. And for Josie Chambers and Aiden Rudolph, both of these drivers looking to go back-to-back here this year. Chambers was able to get it done last year in 206 Junior with that Intrepid team. He won the Duffy in Junior, moved up to Senior this year, and imagine winning a national karting event, a national 206 event here this year at Amarillo Kart Complex in your first year in Senior. And for Aiden Rudolph as well, came so close in 206 Senior last year, but got it done in KA Senior. Both of these drivers fighting for back-to-back Duffys in back-to-back years, and both not local to Amarillo, both local to the Houston area, and looking to get it done away. And for Alex Stanfield in that 3rd spot, looking to get yet another Duffy here this weekend for the TB Kart Amarillo Kart Complex team here this weekend. And for Matthew Winfrey, all the way from Nevada, coming out here and fighting with some of the best in Texas and some of the best in the nation, has given it everything that he's got in that Cole Nelson Racing Invader machine.
Yeah, he's doing a great job right now. He's not a driver that you see much in Texas, but he's racing like one of us. I mean, he's doing a great job pushing Alex Stanfield right now. This is exactly what you need to do and where you need to be in these stages of the race. They're very comfortable where they are right now. Same with Josie and Rudolph. There's not much coming from behind except for Stanfield and Winfrey. You have that big group back, but they need to be careful about this. We have the 2-6 to go this time by. We'll see what Josie does. I would assume that he would wait for the final lap, because there'd be no point to slow each other down when there's a whole full extra lap to go after this one.
Well, there you have it. 2-6 in the air and officially crunch time for Aiden Rudolph, Josie Chambers, Alex Stanfield, and Matthew Winfrey as they all fight it out to try and determine who's going to win the Duffy in 2024. Rudolph still leads us away and kind of telling Josie Chambers here to wait and bear with them here for a couple of moments more and go at it here in the final lap. The lap times, the 1:12.9 for Rudolph, similar for Josie Chambers, and for Stanfield, they gained a 10th that time by. So you see that gap close down just that little bit, but they're going to need a whole lot more to be there in contention to fight for this race win.
Yeah, Stanfield and Winfrey just on the cusp of the draft. Once they get to the back straight, if they have any more advantage through this first sector of the racetrack on them. They will gain dividends down the back straight. It'll be 1 lap to go next time by. These 2 leaders out in front have done everything they could to pull away, but now it is just in the racing gods. It's in their hands. We'll see what Stanfield and Winfrey can do. It's a huge fight back for 5th on back, but right now our focus is with these 4 drivers right here. 1 lap to go this time by. The gap is visually closing. And now, what will Josie Chambers do on this final lap?
White flag in the air this time by. The fence lines are absolutely packed here at the Amarillo Kart Complex. Everybody watching on as your 206 seniors look to define who's going to win the Duffy here this year. Rudolph leads us away. Chambers there in second. Still no fighting for now, and I think for Chambers it may be on the back straightaway, but Stanfield still not able to close down his gap. They ran almost identical lap times, and he could very well be within a shot. You see Rudolph there, veteran move, pointing to his helmet, telling Chambers to be patient, to wait just that little bit longer, give themselves an opportunity to really fight it out and make it a 2-horse race. And I'll let Stanfield and Winfrey get into the mix here. The final couple of quarters are coming our way here shortly. Everybody on their feet, everybody looking on as Rudolph leads us away at the IKF Grand Nationals. Gonna start to defend from Josie Chambers. Stanfield gonna start to close down his gap. Rudolph gonna have to go to the bottom here to close down on this back straightaway. Chambers, does he have enough room to stick it on the bottom on his intrepid machine? Not close enough as of yet. This is it. The final couple of quarters. Chambers around the outside looking to set up an over-under on Rudolph, who defends it perfectly. Stanfield closes down his gap. Nobody gonna deny Aiden Rudolph from going back-to-back and winning the Duffy in 2024.
Very close finish between your top 4. Chambers comes across the line in second place. Stanfield and Winfrey, your 3rd and 4th place finishers. As we have the rest come around, I think it'll be Bryce Frank, Fandry, and Adams, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Seville, 8th. Oliver, 9th, and Kelvin Zing. We thought he might have sneak up, but best for him this weekend will be 10th place.
Jensen Harrell running up your top 11. Skinner in 12th. Raphael Kraus, 13th. Landon Fitz, 14th. Chuck Jensen running up your top 15. And then you move back to see the rest of your finishers here in 206 Senior. But what a race has Amarillo Kart Complex provided us. And it's been a pleasure from all of us here at Kart Chaser, from everybody a part of the Texas Sprint Racing Series as well. Been a pleasure to bring the IKF Grand Nationals to Kart Chaser this year and give out some Duffies here as well. And a big congrats to Aiden Rudolph for getting it done back-to-back years. And your Duffy champion, your IKF Grand Nationals champion here this year in 2024. From all of us at the Texas Sprint Racing Series and from all of us here at Kart Chaser, myself, Caleb Vieska, Rocco Ruzic alongside me, we thank you for being with us every step of the way for the 2024 IKF Grand Nationals. We're back next week with more racing action coming your way with the United States Pro Kart Series, but for the IKF Grand Nationals, it's a good night, and we'll see you next year.